Chapter 489. Anything that was related to a supreme being was a rare treasure of the world. It was a supreme treasure that contained a vast amount of power. It had the power to create a supreme fortune. The supreme pill was beyond the level of Tao pill. Only a supreme pill could refine it. One must know that the number of supreme pill in the entire war god continent could be counted with 2 hands. The refining of the supreme pill was incomparably difficult, but every time a supreme pill appeared, it was incomparably precious. It was absolutely unimaginable that a supreme pill could be found in the yellow stone garden. Boom! When the last layer of stone was peeled off, a golden light suddenly shot up into the sky. The lightning in the sky also fell, completely enveloping the golden pill. The black-robed middle-aged man seemed to have expected this. With a wave of his sleeve, a powerful boundary enveloped the entire stone garden, preventing the supreme pill from escaping. Rumble! The lightning blazed, and the laws of the world filled the void. Tao intent intertwined. The golden pill bobbed up and down, receiving the refinement of the lightning of heaven and earth. Everyone's eyes were filled with anticipation and nervousness. They were afraid that the supreme pill would be destroyed in the lightning tribulation. It's over, it's over. This bastard actually found a supreme pill. Little brother, I'm in deep trouble because of you. Forget about the 5-colored illusionary flower and Qingxia copper. This supreme pill is worth at least 200,000 pure yang pills. It can't be compared at all. Let's run. Daoist Wuyang's face instantly became incomparably ugly. His eyes darted around, wanting to escape. Idiot, are you trying to run away? With your grandpa Ox here, you can't run anywhere. The young demon king of the Golden Rhino clan had sharp eyes. He instantly discovered Daoist Wuyang's thoughts and shouted loudly, I'll run? Fuck your second uncle. The treasures in these 2 ancient stones are priceless. They're much better than this supreme pill. Daoist Wuyang jumped up as if his tail had been stepped on. He cursed the young demon king with spittle flying everywhere. He almost rolled up his sleeves and fought with the young demon king. Hee, keep an eye on them for me. If these 2 fools don't fulfill the bet today, we'll sell them to the chrysanthemum garden. I believe that many old women and men will like them very much. South Sky Sword sneered and waved his sleeve. Immediately many young talents surrounded Ling Xiao and Daoist Wuyang. Chrysanthemum garden? The faces of Ling Xiao and Daoist Wuyang instantly turned unsightly. The Chrysanthemum Garden was one of Heavenly God City's most popular places. Many old women and old demonic women who were not satisfied with their desires liked to pick some strong young men from there. Male martial artists who were interested in homosexuality would also frequently go there. If they were really sold to the Chrysanthemum Garden, it would be worse than death. Don't worry, Taoist priest. The value of the treasure in this ancient stone far surpasses that of a supreme pill. Just you wait. Ling Xiao smiled and comforted Daoist Wuyang. I hope so. Daoist Wuyang said dejectedly. Obviously, he did not have much hope. Rumble. After the supreme pill in the void absorbed the lightning tribulation, it finally made it through and turned into a dazzling golden pill. It was gorgeous and flawless, emitting a mysterious fluctuation of laws. There's a supreme pill in it. Where's the supreme pill? A supreme pill in a yellow-grade stone garden? This is too rare. After hearing the news of the supreme pill being cut out from the yellow-grade stone garden, many old monsters immediately rushed into the yellow-grade stone garden. I hope it's a supreme pill that can cultivate divine force. It's worth at least 1,000,000 pure yang pills. Moreover, it's priceless. A white-haired old man wearing a black robe of the Precious Treasure Pavilion said. He was the great elder of the Precious Treasure Pavilion. He was already a half-step supreme being expert. His eyes were filled with excitement. In the War God continent, many people were stuck at the half-step supreme being realm. It could be said that not even 1 out of 1,000 half-step supreme beings could break through to the supreme being realm. The supreme being was the supreme realm of the martial Tao. They were revered under the heavens and could sweep through the 8 wastelands. Although a half-step supreme being was very strong, far surpassing emperors, they were only slightly bigger ants in front of a supreme being. The most difficult part of becoming a supreme being was cultivating divine force. However, this step was too illusory and difficult to grasp. Many half-step supreme beings were stuck at this step for thousands of years, and could only turn into dust in the end. Jianer, I heard you were the one who opened the supreme pill? You've really done a great service for the Nantiang clan. Come, let me take a look. A wizened old man in a purple robe with almost all of his teeth falling out said with a satisfied expression. Uncle, look. Nantiang's sword handed the supreme pill to the old man in a purple robe with a proud expression. Although the old man in a purple robe only seemed to be a 9th-level emperor, he was one of the old antiques of the Nantiang clan. He had lived for thousands of years, and was originally a half-step supreme being. However, as he aged, his chi and blood declined and his cultivation fell. The old man in a purple robe took the supreme pill and carefully sensed it. Instantly, his eyes were filled with disappointment. It's not a supreme pill that can cultivate divine force. It's only a blood origin supreme pill that can increase one's chi and blood. What a pity, what a pity. Although the old man in a purple robe's cultivation had fallen, he still had ambitions in his heart. He wanted to make up for his lifespan one day and cultivate divine force to reach the supreme being realm. Blood origin supreme pill? Nantiang's sword was also a little disappointed. The blood origin supreme pill was the same as the pure yang supreme pill. They were the most common supreme pills. The blood origin supreme pill could strengthen one's chi and blood, while the pure yang supreme pill could be considered the strengthened version of the pure yang supreme pill. It was formed by supreme being experts extracting pure yang qi and fusing it with their own power of law. That's right. Although the blood origin supreme pill is precious, it's not difficult to obtain. This one is worth at least 200,000 pure yang pills. The old man in a purple robe said slowly. The great elder of the precious treasure pavilion also took it and examined it. At last he nodded his head and said, "It's indeed the blood origin supreme pill. It's worth at least 200,000 pure yang pills." The other old monster's eyes were also filled with disappointment. Although the blood origin supreme pill was precious, it didn't have much use for them. These old monsters valued supreme treasures that could cultivate divine force and increase lifespan the most. These were all related to their ability to break through to the supreme being realm. Based on my calculations, these 3 treasures are worth at least 280,000 pure yang pills. Now it's your turn. Nantiang's sword looked at Ling Xiao and Taoist Wuliang with a mocking expression. That's right. It's your turn. Don't tell me you're scared. Ha ha ha. If you're afraid, then just admit defeat. The geniuses of the 5 Elements sect, the young demon king of the Golden Rhino clan, and many other young geniuses laughed and began to mock and ridicule. Afraid? I never knew how to write the word afraid. Today, I'll broaden your horizons. Taoist Wuliang sneered. He steeled his heart and decided to believe Ling Xiao this time. He began to cut the ancient stones. The stone cutter took the 2 ancient stones that Taoist Wuliang had chosen. Light flashed as he cut the stone, and the outer layer of the stone was removed. Gradually, the treasures within the ancient stones were revealed. Buzz! Dazzling rays of light filled the ancient stones. Faintly, golden lines could be seen spreading out. It was as if a precious ore was emerging. The treasures are out. This idiot can actually pick out the ancient stones that contain the treasures? Chapter 490. As the surface of the stone flew, a golden radiance flashed within the ancient stone. The radiance grew brighter and brighter, until a piece of metal the size of a longan was revealed. It was flowing with golden radiance and was extremely gorgeous. On top of that piece of metal, there were mysterious laws intertwining. Streaks of blood were incomparably bright as if flames were about to fly out from it. This is the blazing phoenix gold. The great elder of Precious Treasure Pavilion's eyes flashed as he recognized the origin of this piece of metal. The blazing phoenix gold contains the imprint of the Great Path Law. It's a top-notch treasure for refining supreme weapons. However, it's a pity that there's only such a small piece. It can only be used to refine a top-notch Dao weapon. The great elder of Precious Treasure Pavilion revealed a tinge of regret in his eyes. The blazing phoenix gold was extremely precious. Legend had it that it was bathed in the divine blood of the phoenix. It was extremely mysterious. If it was used to refine a supreme weapon, it would be extremely powerful. That's right. It's indeed too small. However, such a small piece of blazing phoenix gold is worth 100,000 pure yang pills. Southern Sky Sword's granduncle also exclaimed in admiration. 100,000 pure yang pills? Southern Sky Sword was also shocked. He did not expect Taoist Wuliang to be so lucky. The value of a random ancient stone had increased by dozens of times. It was even more valuable than the 5-colored illusionary flower and green dawn copper combined. So what if it's worth 100,000 pure yang pills? Third young master, one of our supreme pills is enough to kill him instantly. The young genius of 5 elements sect sneered. The young monster king of Golden Rhino clan widened his eyes and said, "That's right. Third young master, there's definitely nothing in Big Fool's soul-breaking stone. As for Big Fool's remaining ancient stone, there's definitely nothing valuable in it." Taoist Wuliang sneered and ignored them. In fact, Ling Xiao could see that Taoist Wuliang was extremely nervous. After all, the pure yang pills were a small matter compared to his reputation. Although Taoist Wuliang's physiognomy was very strong, and was known as the physiognomy of heaven and earth, Ling Xiao knew that Taoist Wuliang was not proficient in ancient stones. However, even Ling Xiao was surprised that Taoist Wuliang was able to obtain the blazing phoenix gold. Taoist Wuliang's standard was not to be underestimated. Everyone's gaze landed on the second ancient stone. At this moment, South Sky Sword no longer dared to underestimate Taoist Wuliang. Wang. In the hands of the stonecutter, the second stone was quickly cut out as well, revealing a strange red grass. It looked like a jade carving, translucent and flowing with a red glow. The grass had 6 leaves, and it exuded an aura of extreme yang. It's 6 sun grass. A king-grade spirit herb of the fire attribute was perfectly preserved. There was no loss of medicinal efficacy at all. Not bad, not bad. It's worth at least 100,000 pure yang pills. The great elder of the precious treasure pavilion could not help but comment. He looked at Taoist Wuliang and Ling Xiao in surprise. The Nantian family was very proficient in ancient stones, and their purple aura psychic technique was even more famous. Therefore, he was not surprised that the Nantian sword could cut out a treasure. However, Ling Xiao and Taoist Wuliang were actually able to cut out 2 supreme treasures consecutively from 2 ancient stones, which shocked the great elder of the precious treasure pavilion. Such a treasure could only be obtained in the heaven-grade stone garden. Today, supreme treasures had appeared one after another in the Yellowstone garden, which made everyone excited. 6 sun grass? That idiot's luck is actually that good? The young demon king of the Golden Rhino clan widened his eyes, which were filled with disbelief. The Nantian sword was also shocked, but he heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. Even if the blazing phoenix gold and 6 sun grass were very precious, they were only comparable to the Blood Origin Supreme Elixir when added together. In the end, Ling Xiao still lost. Ha ha ha. If that's the case, I won't hold back. The blazing phoenix gold and 6 sun grass are not bad. I just happen to need these 2 treasures to increase my cultivation. The 2 of you should be fulfilling the bet now, right? The Nantian sword laughed, and his eyes were filled with pride. He reached out his hand to grab the 6 sun grass and blazing phoenix gold. Hold on. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed, and he immediately kept the blazing phoenix gold and 6 sun grass. He had a half-smile on his face. The Nantian sword's face instantly turned ugly. What? Are you going to go back on your word? When did I say I was going to go back on my word? We still have an ancient stone to cut out. How do you know you're going to win? Don't you have any shame? Ling Xiao smiled faintly, and his eyes were filled with mockery. You're talking about this breaking soul stone? Ha ha ha. The Nantian sword was stunned, and then he laughed out loud. Brat, I've never heard of treasures being able to be cut out from the breaking soul stone. Did you lose your mind after seeing that you lost? The young genius of the 5 elements sect laughed coldly and said, That's right. Kid, don't stall for time. A loss is a loss. You swore an oath to the heavenly Tao. If you dare to violate the terms of the bet, your cultivation will be crippled at best, and your soul will be scattered at worst. Think carefully. The first elder of the precious treasure pavilion also knew about the bet between Ling Xiao and the Nantian sword. He shook his head and said, It's impossible to cut out treasures from the breaking soul stone. This was something that everyone in the stone gambling world knew. The Breaking Soul Stone was a useless stone, and it was impossible to cut out treasures from it. The purple-robed elder from the Nantian family had an indifferent look in his eyes as he said, Jian, or since he doesn't want to give up, then let him cut it. I want to see what kind of tricks he can come up with. The Nantian sword laughed coldly and said, All right, kid, if you can cut out treasures from the Breaking Soul Stone, I'll eat this Breaking Soul Stone. Remember what you said. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and walked towards the black millstone. Little brother, are you really confident? Taoist Wuliang asked. Don't worry. They'll cry later. Ling Xiao gave Taoist Wuliang a reassuring look and prepared to cut the ancient stone himself. This kid is really a fool. He wants to cut the ancient stone himself? I think he's at his wit's end. That's right. Treasures can be cut out from the Breaking Soul Stone. That's simply a fantasy. This kid dares to offend young Master Nantian. He's dead meat. Everyone looked at Ling Xiao as if they were watching a good show. They were all mocking and ridiculing him. No one was optimistic about Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao acted as if he did not hear them. He walked straight to the Breaking Soul Stone and punched out. A blazing fist radiance exploded. Crack! The Breaking Soul Stone instantly shattered into dozens of pieces. Everyone was dumbfounded. You can cut the stone like this? Which stone cutter wasn't careful, afraid of damaging the treasures inside? Ling Xiao was simply smashing a broken jar. The corner of Taoist Wuliang's eyes twitched. He felt that Ling Xiao was unreliable. Ling Xiao's expression was very calm. He picked up a piece of broken stone in the center, as if there was no one around. It was the size of a fist and looked like a beehive. There were countless densely packed black spots. The reason why Ling Xiao dared to smash the Breaking Soul Stone with one punch was that he had already checked that the real treasure was this small piece. The rest were indeed useless stones. Ling Xiao's palm emitted a golden light. The originally incomparably hard ancient stone turned into wisps of black powder in his hand and danced in the wind. Ling Xiao's expression also became solemn because he felt that the mysterious aura was getting stronger and stronger. Kid, don't play to the gallery. It's impossible to cut out treasures from the Breaking Soul Stone. You'd better obediently fulfill the bet. The young geniuses of the Five Elements sect and the young demon king of the Golden Rhino clan were jeering and ridiculing. Their faces were full of ridicule. No, there's really something inside. The eyes of the Precious Treasure Pavilion's first elder flashed, revealing an incomparably shocked expression. He saw that as the stone skin peeled off, there was actually something inside the Breaking Soul Stone. What's that? Chapter 491. Inside the Black Break Soul Stone, there was a black light and a faint mist. Within it, there was a fingernail-sized cicada that was shining with golden light. It flapped its wings and was as thin as a veil. It was incomparably exquisite as if it was carved out of jade. The golden cicada was very quiet. It lay in the Break Soul Stone as if it was not fully awake yet. There was a mysterious fluctuation that looked incomparably mystical. What is this thing? A cicada? Everyone was stunned. Their eyes were filled with doubt as they could not recognize what treasure it was. A bug. A cicada was cut out of the Break Soul Stone? How many pure yang pills is this cicada worth? Even if it is an ancient spiritual bug worth 10,000 pure yang pills, you will lose for sure. Southern Sky Sword was stunned. Then he laughed out loud as his eyes were filled with mockery. Shut up. The first elder of the Precious Treasure Pavilion coldly shouted as he interrupted Southern Sky Sword. His eyes were filled with excitement. Even Southern Sky Sword's granduncle, the purple-robed old man, did not have any reaction. He stared at the cicada as if he had thought of something. Suddenly, his body trembled as his eyes were filled with excitement. Could this be the legendary longevity cicada? The purple-robed old man's body began to tremble. Bathed in golden light, containing Tao runes, eyes like the golden sun, the longevity cicada can only chirp 3 times. Each chirp can increase one's lifespan by 1,000 years. This is indeed the legendary longevity cicada. The first elder of the Precious Treasure Pavilion took a deep breath as his eyes were filled with shock. As soon as he finished speaking, the eyes of the surrounding old monsters turned red. If it was not for the first elder of the precious treasure pavilion, they would have already snatched it. Increase one's lifespan by 1,000 years. If they could hear the longevity cicada chirp 3 times, wouldn't their lifespan increase by 3,000 years? For these old monsters who were nearing the end of their lifespan, this was an unimaginable treasure. It was not stingy to live another life. It was worth it for everyone to go crazy over. Ling Xiao's eyes also revealed a trace of surprise. He had heard of the longevity cicada before. It was an ancient species that was said to have gone extinct long ago. He did not expect to find a longevity cicada in the breaking soul stone. Taoist Wuliang looked at Ling Xiao as if he was looking at a monster. He felt that he could not see through this guy who called himself Long Outyin. Did he really feel that there was a treasure in this breaking soul stone? Or did he just happen to find it? However, Taoist Wuliang's eyes lit up when he remembered that Ling Xiao still had 3 pieces of breaking soul stones. An investment of 30,000 pure yang pills. He was going to make a huge profit this time. Fortunately, Taoist Wuliang had an idea and chose half of the treasures in the breaking soul stone. Otherwise, he would have cried himself to death. Look at the longevity cicada's wings. Originally, it had 3 life wheels. Every time it chirped, 1 life wheel would disappear. Now only 1 life wheel is left. It seems like it has chirped twice. The purple-robed elder's eyes flashed, revealing a trace of pity. Buzz. A purple jade box appeared in the hands of the great elder of the precious treasure pavilion. It was made of purple chi stone, and was incomparably precious. He solemnly placed the longevity cicada into the purple jade box, and then closed it. Little brother, if you are willing to sell the longevity cicada to my precious treasure pavilion, I am willing to pay 500,000 pure yang pills. The great elder of the precious treasure pavilion looked at Ling Xiao with a fervent look in his eyes. 500,000 pure yang pills. Nantian's sword and the young geniuses of the 5 Elements sect were shocked. Their eyes revealed a look of disbelief. A mere spiritual insect could be sold for a sky-high price of 500,000 pure yang pills? One should know that the Blood Origin Supreme Elixir was only worth 200,000 pure yang pills. Little brother, my Nantian family is willing to pay 600,000 pure yang pills. If you sell it to me, you will be my Nantian family's VIP in the future. The purple-robed elder also had a fervent look on his face. His eyes were filled with determination. Among all the old monsters, the purple-robed elder desired the longevity cicada the most. He only had 12 years left in his lifespan. If he could not obtain a supreme treasure to extend his lifespan, he would really be finished. Nantian Sword's face instantly darkened. Even his granduncle was willing to pay 600,000 pure yang pills. It seemed like he had really lost this competition. This brat must have gotten lucky. How could there be a supreme treasure like the longevity cicada in the Death Soul Stone? Nantian's Sword gritted his teeth and said. He could not help but feel dizzy when he thought of his bet with Ling Xiao. 200,000 pure yang pills was not a big deal. He could still afford it. But kowtowing and apologizing, slapping himself in the face, and eating the Death Soul Stone? I will pay 700,000 pure yang pills. The great elder of the precious treasure pavilion was also determined to get it. Although he still had a long lifespan, it was too difficult to reach the supreme realm. With the longevity cicada, it was like a new life. Even for the precious treasure pavilion, it was extremely difficult to obtain a supreme treasure like the longevity cicada. In the entire War God continent, treasures that could extend one's lifespan were the most precious. It was enough to make everyone go crazy. I will pay 1 million pure yang pills. The purple-robed elder gritted his teeth and shouted out a sky-high price. Although the other old monsters were also envious, 1 million pure yang pills made them hesitate. This price was indeed a little too high. Sorry, I have no plans to sell the longevity cicada at the moment. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and directly rejected the bids of the precious treasure pavilion. And the purple-robed elder. What? Everyone was a little surprised. This was 1 million pure yang pills. If Ling Xiao was willing to sell it, the price would be even higher. This brat actually gave up? Ling Xiao looked at Nantian's Sword indifferently and said, Now can you fulfill the bet? Nantian's Sword and the others looked as if they had eaten a dead child. Their faces were incomparably ugly. A single longevity cicada suppressed everyone. It almost made Nantion Sword experience great joy and great sorrow. His eyes were filled with incomparable grief and indignation. Until now, he still couldn't figure out how such a supreme treasure like the longevity cicada could be in the soul-breaking stone. Long Outyin, here are 250,000 pure yang pills, and the 3 supreme treasures that I cut out. Nantion Sword endured the pain, and took out 250,000 pure yang pills. At the same time, he also gave the 5-colored illusionary flower, green cloud copper, and blood origin supreme pill to Ling Xiao. So many treasures were given to Ling Xiao. It made his heart bleed. Although he was the 3rd young master of Nantion Sword, so many treasures were hard to come by for him. He didn't expect to lose all of them to Ling Xiao. The young geniuses of the 5 Elements sect, the young archfiend king of the Golden Rhino race, and those who participated in the stone gambling with Ling Xiao, all of them had long faces. They finally understood what it meant to go for wool and come home shorn. Ling Xiao took the pure yang pills and the 3 supreme treasures and said with a faint smile, "Nantion Sword, you can't have forgotten that our bet isn't just this, right? Do you need me to remind you?" Nantion Sword's face twitched and revealed an incomparable grief and indignation. "Long Outyin, don't go too far." "I'm going too far?" "Nantion Sword, you're the one who suggested the stone gambling, right? You're also the one who suggested the bet, right? Why didn't you think of this moment when you were being overbearing? However, you've already made a heavenly oath. If you don't fulfill the bet, don't blame me when you're punished by the heavenly Tao." Ling Xiao said indifferently, his eyes were filled with coldness. Ling Xiao believed that if he were to lose, the Southern Sky Sword would only go from bad to worse than it was now. "Young man, don't you think you're going a little too far? Even if Jianer made a heavenly oath, as long as you agree to exempt him from the bet, you'll naturally remove the restriction of the heavenly oath." The purple-robed old man frowned slightly and revealed a trace of coldness in his eyes. Chapter 492. The purple-robed elder was already dissatisfied with Ling Xiao's unwillingness to take the longevity cicada. Now that he saw Ling Xiao asking Nantion Sword to fulfill the bet, he was even more furious. The Nantion family was a famous family in the War God continent. They were on par with the Marshal Saint Lands, and were extremely powerful. As the 3rd young master of the Nantion family, if Nantion Sword really kowtowed and apologized to Ling Xiao, the entire Nantion family would become a laughingstock. What a joke! Why should I agree to waive his bet? Ling Xiao sneered and said, "If Nantion Sword wins the stone bet, do you think he'll be so kind as to waive my bet? Then what do you want? Young man, don't be too impulsive. Leave a bottom line for the future. You must know that there are some people that you can't afford to offend." The purple-robed elder said coldly with a hint of threat in his voice. "Threatening us? Ha ha. This Taoist isn't afraid of threats. Old thing, you don't know your place and take advantage of your seniority. If the Nantion family is filled with people like you, I'm afraid they'll fall sooner or later." Taoist Wuliang sneered. "You're courting death." The purple-robed elder's face turned cold as killing intent flashed in his eyes. His body exuded a powerful aura, and there was a hint of madness in his eyes. If he killed Ling Xiao and Taoist Wuliang and snatched the longevity cicada, the Nantion family should be able to cover it up with their strength. "Old thing, come. This Taoist will fight with you for 300 rounds. Since you're tired of living, this Taoist will send you on your way." Taoist Wuliang revealed a mouthful of white teeth as he smiled faintly. A mysterious and ancient light shot out from his eyes, causing the purple-robed elder to tremble. "Presumptuous." The great elder of the Precious Treasure Pavilion growled as a vast and terrifying aura spread out, causing everyone to tremble. This was a half-step supreme being. If this great elder was angered, even the Nantion family would be in trouble. "Little brother, how about this? Nantion Sword lost the bet, so he should fulfill his end of the bet. However, for this old man's sake, let him pay some pure yang pills and waive his bet. What do you think?" The great elder of the Precious Treasure Pavilion said gently, as if he was negotiating. Before Ling Xiao could speak, Taoist Wuliang sneered and said, "Sure, take out 10 million pure yang pills, and we can consider waiving his bet." 10 million pure yang pills? You really dare to demand an exorbitant price. The purple-robed elder's voice was extremely cold as he gritted his teeth and said, 10 million pure yang pills was enough to buy a supreme artifact of slightly lower quality. It wasn't that the Nantian family couldn't take out such a huge sum of money. It was just that they weren't willing to be cheated like this. 10 million pure yang pills is too expensive. Is the Nantian family's reputation not worth 10 million pure yang pills? Taoist Wuliang sneered. Southern Sky Sword's face was ashen. He hated Ling Xiao and Taoist Wuliang to the core. He suddenly walked out and knelt down in front of Ling Xiao. Long Outyin, I was wrong. Southern Sky Sword abruptly kowtowed, and then slapped Southern Sky Sword fiercely. Its eyes were filled with hatred and killing intent as it looked at Ling Xiao. And those soul-breaking stones. Taoist Wuliang was also stunned. He didn't expect this brat to be so ruthless. However, he didn't plan to let Southern Sky Sword off so easily. Southern Sky Sword didn't say a word. He picked up the soul-breaking stones and chewed them in big mouthfuls. The hard stones caused his mouth to be filled with bloody foam. The sound of crunching made everyone who heard it feel their hair stand on end. It was as if Southern Sky Sword wasn't eating the soul-breaking stones, but the flesh and blood of Ling Xiao and Taoist Wuliang. Very well, you can scram now. Ling Xiao smiled faintly as if he didn't see the gloomy killing intent in the eyes of the Nantian family. Long Outyin and Taoist Wuliang? I'll remember you. Brat, it's a small world. Be careful that you don't die an unnatural death for being so arrogant. The purple-robed elder's eyes were extremely cold. He knew that from today onwards, the Nantian family would become a laughing stock. What happened here would probably spread across the entire Heavenly God City very quickly. The purple-robed elder even wanted to kill Southern Sky Sword. However, the people he hated the most right now were Ling Xiao and Taoist Wuliang. The killing intent in his heart was almost tangible. Old thing, you only have a dozen years of lifespan left. Be careful that you don't die of old age. Taoist Wuliang also replied, not to be outdone. Let's go. The purple-robed elder's eyes were extremely cold. He gave Ling Xiao and Taoist Wuliang a deep look, then hurriedly left with Nangong Jian. These two fellows have offended the Nantian family to the core. That's right. Although killing is prohibited in Heavenly God City, they can't stay in Heavenly God City forever. In the end, they're still young and hot-headed. They're dead for sure. The crowd discussed animatedly. They looked at Ling Xiao and Taoist Wuliang with eyes full of sympathy. Two little friends, the Heavenly God Assembly is in 3 days. Before the Heavenly God Assembly, my precious treasure pavilion will hold an auction. If the longevity cicada is auctioned, it will definitely fetch a high price. Are the two of you willing to hand the longevity cicada over to my precious treasure pavilion to auction? The precious treasures pavilion's great elder chuckled. He could tell that Ling Xiao was unwilling to sell the longevity cicada. Firstly, he didn't want to sell it to the Nantian family. Secondly, he wanted to sell it for a higher price. He didn't even care about 1 million pure yang pills. The Precious Treasures Pavilion was even more curious about Ling Xiao's origins. Could Long Outyin be from the Eastern Sea? The Precious Treasures Pavilion's great elder's heart trembled slightly as he made some guesses. Many thanks, great elder. Let's auction these 3 treasures in the Precious Treasures Pavilion. Ling Xiao smiled. Aside from the Blood Origin Supreme Pill, he planned to give the Precious Treasures Pavilion the 5-colored illusionary flower, azure copper, and longevity cicada to be auctioned off. The longevity cicada was very precious in the eyes of others, but it was nothing to Ling Xiao. After all, he still had a dozen or so longevity fruits. The effect of the longevity fruit was not inferior to the longevity cicada, and even surpassed it in some aspects. Little friend, don't worry. These 3 treasures will definitely be auctioned for a high price. Little friend, this yellow gradestone garden is only considered ordinary. The Heaven Gradestone Garden has quite a few precious ancient stones. Little friend, do you want to go take a look at the Heaven Gradestone Garden? The Precious Treasures Pavilion's great elder's eyes flashed. He wanted to test whether Ling Xiao and Taoist Wuliang were truly proficient in ancient stone arts, or if they were lucky today and just happened to run into these treasures. Forget it for today. Great elder, this brat has something to ask you. Ling Xiao said with a smile. This was the great elder of the Precious Treasures Pavilion, a peerless half-step supreme. He should be able to inquire about the whereabouts of Old Goat and the others. Oh, little friend, what's the matter? The great elder of the Precious Treasures Pavilion smiled. At this moment, the yellow-grade stone garden became somewhat restless. A wave of exclamations came from outside, and a faint fragrance drifted over. The Holy Maiden of the Moon Palace is here. The second prince is actually accompanying her personally. I wonder what kind of peerless beauty this Holy Maiden of the Moon Palace is. Chapter 493. The Saintess of the Moon Palace wore a long white robe and was enveloped in the moonlight. Her figure was graceful, and her skin was as white as jade. Her temperament was extraordinary. Her face was covered by a thin veil, and her face couldn't be seen clearly. However, her eyes were brighter than the stars. She walked slowly in the moonlight, and her black hair was like a waterfall. Her holy and cold temperament made people feel ashamed of their inferiority. The second prince, who was standing beside her, was tall and strong. He walked with a majestic gait and wore a green dragon robe. He looked very handsome and had a gentle smile on his face. As he walked, he chatted with the Saintess of the Moon Palace. They looked like a perfect couple. The most important thing was that there was a black goat following behind them. It looked as strong as a calf, and its face was full of smiles. Its eyes were rolling around as it looked at the ancient stones in the surroundings, and its eyes were shining. No matter how one looked at it, this combination was a little strange. When Ling Xiao saw the Saintess of the Moon Palace and the old goat, he was stunned. The old goat was also stunned. Roar! The old goat roared and immediately pounced on Ling Xiao. Its face was full of excitement and excitement. Ling Xiao. The moon god's eyes flashed, and she was surprised. The Saintess of the Moon Palace was the moon god. Previously, the moon god and the second prince heard that someone had obtained the longevity cicada in the Yellowstone Garden. They wanted to take a look, but they didn't expect to meet Ling Xiao. If you dare to carry us behind your back again, I'll bite you to death. The old goat kicked Ling Xiao's chest, and his eyes were a little red as he laughed. In the reincarnation ocean, Ling Xiao fell into the reincarnation ocean to save Shuiwei and the others. This made the old goat and the others very worried. If the old goat didn't have great confidence in Ling Xiao, they would have thought that Ling Xiao died in the reincarnation ocean. Long time no see. You're fine. That's great. The moon god walked over with a smile in her beautiful eyes. It was as if her peerless beauty had bloomed, and the world suddenly lost its color. Everyone couldn't help but be dazzled. I'm fine. But I didn't expect you to become the Saintess of the Moon Palace. Ling Xiao said with a smile. The moon god had the moon saint body, and she had inherited the lunisolar scripture. The Moon Palace naturally wouldn't let go of such a peerless talent. Ling Xiao guessed that there must be many opportunities that he didn't know about. Seeing the moon god and Ling Xiao talking and laughing, the second prince's eyes revealed a trace of darkness. However, he immediately concealed it perfectly. He walked over with a faint smile and asked, Yueshan, can you introduce this brother to me? Moon Goddess said, Second Prince, his name is Ling Xiao. He is a good friend of mine. Clearly, the name Ling Xiao touched him greatly. What treasure did you get? Take it out and show it to me. The old goat's eyes lit up and were filled with excitement. Look at you. Do you want this Blood Origin Supreme Elixir or not? Ling Xiao smiled and the Blood Origin Supreme Elixir appeared in his hand. The old goat's eyes immediately turned red, and he suddenly pounced forward. Quickly give it to me. This emperor and this pill are fated. This supreme pill is this emperor's. Whoever dares to snatch it from this emperor will kill him. The Blood Origin Supreme Elixir contained a powerful blood qi. It also contained a mysterious supreme law. It was very beneficial to the old goat's Dao injury. That was why Ling Xiao kept the Blood Origin Supreme Elixir. No one is snatching it from you. Take it. Ling Xiao smiled and threw the Blood Origin Supreme Elixir to the old goat. You're the best. The old goat beamed and caught the Blood Origin Supreme Elixir, as if it was a treasure. The Blood Origin Supreme Elixir disappeared in a flash. No one knew where the old goat hid it. Everyone was dumbfounded. That was the Blood Origin Supreme Elixir. It was worth at least 200,000 pure yang pills. Ling Xiao just threw it to the old goat? Or Ling Xiao's spirit pet? Wasn't being treated too well to be Ling Xiao's spirit pet? The eyes of many young geniuses turned red. Ling Xiao, that's the blood origin supreme elixir. How could you just throw it to a spirit pet? If you don't want it, you can give it to me. Why does this old goat look so familiar? He looks like that old bastard. Taoist Wuliang said with a pained expression. However, he looked at the old goat suspiciously. He felt that this wretched old goat was familiar. You're the spirit pet. Your whole family are spirit pets. Ox-nosed old Taoist. How dare you look down on me? I'll bite you to death. The old goat was enraged. His eyes were filled with hostility. He bared his white teeth and pounced on Taoist Wuliang. It hurts. Damn goat, get out of my way. Are you a dog? Why do you like to bite people? Taoist Wuliang screamed. The old goat's teeth were too sharp. They were comparable to a peerless Tao artifact. When they bit Taoist Wuliang's arm, the excruciating pain made Taoist Wuliang scream in anger. Seeing Ling Xiao throw the blood origin supreme elixir to the old goat, the second prince's mouth twitched. He knew that the old goat had an extraordinary background. However, he was just a spirit pet. Wasn't Ling Xiao spending too much to please the moon goddess? The second prince looked at Ling Xiao and smiled. Brother Ling, which saint land are you from? How do you know the moon goddess? Although the second prince was smiling, Ling Xiao felt that he didn't mean what he said. The second prince in front of him gave him a feeling of hypocrisy. There was even a hint of hostility. I don't belong to any sect. I'm just a rogue cultivator. As for how I know the moon goddess, Ling Xiao looked at the moon goddess and walked forward. He hugged the moon goddess's waist and said, the moon goddess and I are childhood sweethearts. We were betrothed when we were young. Of course, we're very familiar with each other. Ling Xiao clearly saw that the second prince's face froze. There was a hint of anger in his eyes. The moon goddess was also shocked by Ling Xiao's sudden action. Faint moonlight burst out from her body. She broke free from Ling Xiao's arms. There was a hint of embarrassment and anger in her eyes. However, she remained silent and didn't explain. Cough cough. Brother Ling, you must be joking. The moon goddess is the saint of the moon palace. How could she have been betrothed when she was young? The second prince coughed dryly, and his voice turned cold. The old goat popped out of nowhere and chuckled. What are you joking about? The moon goddess is indeed Ling Xiao's wife. I say, second prince, don't be wishful thinking. You and the moon goddess are not fated to be together. Taoist Wu Liang tilted his head and looked at the moon goddess. His eyes were filled with infatuation. He said regretfully, how could such a beautiful saint be snatched by brother Ling Xiao first? I'm so elegant and unrestrained. I'm the best candidate for the moon goddess's Tao partner. The corner of the moon goddess's mouth twitched slightly. Her white forehead was full of black lines. She wished she could strangle the old goat and Taoist Wuliang to death. Chapter 494. The second prince could no longer maintain his gentle demeanor. His face instantly turned green. The moon goddess resisted the urge to strangle the old goat and Taoist Wuliang to death. She smiled calmly at the second prince and said, Your Highness, Ling Xiao and I still have some matters to discuss. We'll take our leave first. Please do as you wish. Moon goddess knew that Ling Xiao had a lot of questions. Coincidentally, she didn't like the second prince either. She found an excuse and left the precious treasure pavilion with Ling Xiao. Seeing the moon goddess and Ling Xiao leave, a sliver of coldness appeared in the second prince's eyes. He said, Investigate. Investigate who this Ling Xiao is. He offended the Nantian family and didn't even put me in his eyes. This brat deserves to die. Yes. A mysterious black-clothed person appeared behind the second prince. Like a ghost, he cupped his hands at the second prince and disappeared into the void. Supreme Tower was one of the largest restaurants in Heavenly God City. Supreme Tower occupied a vast area. It was a huge palace that rose from the ground. It was hundreds of feet tall and could overlook Heavenly God City. Behind it was a lake and forest. It was very peaceful. After Ling Xiao and the moon goddess left the precious treasure pavilion, the old goat led them to the Supreme Tower. Ling Xiao, Supreme Tower's 9-5 Supreme Wine is the best in the world. There are also all kinds of delicacies made from demon beasts. You must try them. When it came to the delicacies of Precious Treasure Pavilion, Old Goat was like a landlord who knew everything. His eyes were full of pride. He had followed Moon Goddess to Heavenly God City a long time ago, and had almost visited all the good places in Heavenly God City. They sat down in a quiet room. Only Ling Xiao, Moon Goddess, Old Goat, and Taoist Wuliang were left. A light flashed in Ling Xiao's hand, and a barrier flew out, enveloping the private room. Hurry up and tell me, what happened in the reincarnation ocean? And where are Phoenix Maiden, Shuewei, and Long Outyan? Ling Xiao's eyes were full of anticipation. Old Goat glanced at Taoist Wuliang. Ling Xiao, who is this stinking Taoist? Why do I feel that he's not reliable at all? Why don't we kick him out? Taoist Wuliang immediately glared at Old Goat and said, Ling Xiao and I have been through life and death together. Who do you think you are? How dare you point fingers at me? In his previous life, the Old Goat and Taoist Wuliang liked to fight each other. Now that 10,000 years had passed, the two of them still did not change. Ling Xiao immediately felt a headache coming on. He hurriedly sent a voice transmission to the Old Goat. He's Wu Liang, the old bastard who impregnated countless saintesses 10,000 years ago. What? It's you? The Old Goat immediately jumped up. His hair stood on end as he looked at Taoist Wu Liang in shock. The Old Goat had sensed that Taoist Wu Liang was very familiar since a long time ago. However, Taoist Wu Liang's aura had changed greatly after reincarnating, and his cultivation was only at the monarch realm. He was far from being at the peak of his previous life, so the Old Goat didn't come out. Hearing Ling Xiao's words, the Old Goat immediately exploded. What? Do you know me? Taoist Wu Liang was confused. He didn't recognize the Old Goat either, but he felt that the Old Goat was very familiar. Haha. I don't know you. Who would know an old bastard like you? The Old Goat laughed and sat down again. He grabbed a transparent glass and took a sip. His face was full of pride. The Moon God's eyes flashed. She was also curious about the Old Goat's reaction, but she was smart enough not to ask. Instead, she answered Ling Xiao's question. It turned out that when Ling Xiao fell into the reincarnation ocean, the master of the Lunar Palace, the Lunar Sovereign, was passing by and had an intense battle with the reincarnation beast. That battle was devastating. The reincarnation beast was extremely terrifying. In the end, even the Lunar Sovereign was heavily injured before the reincarnation beast was forced to retreat. When the Lunar Sovereign discovered the Moon God's lunar body, he was extremely excited and saved the Moon God and the others. He even took the Moon God as his last disciple and made her the saintess of the Lunar Palace. The Lunar Sovereign didn't hesitate to use the lunar divine power to imbue the Moon God's body. He also let the Moon God inherit the lunar scripture. Her cultivation broke through to the noble realm. Now, she even cultivated many powerful superpowers of the Lunar Palace. She emitted an aura that made Ling Xiao feel dangerous. Where is Shuewei? Ling Xiao asked quickly. The Moon God and the Old Goat's expressions changed at the mention of Shuewei. Shuewei was taken away by the reincarnation beast. What? Ling Xiao's expression immediately changed, and a trace of coldness appeared in his eyes. The Moon God sighed and said, Ling Xiao, the master said that Shuewei has an aura that doesn't belong to this world. The reincarnation beast rarely attacks the adventure ship. The reason it attacked us is probably because of Shuewei. Although the master fought with the reincarnation beast, Shuewei was still captured by the reincarnation beast. Captured by the reincarnation beast? Ling Xiao's eyes flickered with a divine light, full of worry. He suddenly remembered that it was Shuewei who discovered the 81 ancient words on the underworld ship. After that, the underworld ship stopped and the reincarnation beast appeared. All of this was too much of a coincidence. Perhaps it was because of Shuewei that the reincarnation sea became so strange. So many inexplicable things happened on the underworld ship. The master said that the reincarnation sea is very mysterious. It seems to be connected to another great world. Shuewei's identity is very mysterious. Since the reincarnation beast came out personally, there shouldn't be any danger to her life. So you don't have to worry too much. The moon god looked at Ling Xiao and said slowly. Ling Xiao smiled bitterly and nodded. He had obtained Pangu's reincarnation ability, and already knew that the reincarnation sea was the passage between the war god Great World and the reincarnation Great World. The reincarnation sea was the condensation of the reincarnation Great World's reincarnation power. It was very likely that it was the passage to the reincarnation Great World. However, Ling Xiao's current strength was too weak. Once he recovered the cultivation of his previous life, Ling Xiao decided to explore the reincarnation sea. Even if he had to overturn the reincarnation Great World, he had to find Shuewei. What about the Phoenix Girl and Long Outyin? Ling Xiao suppressed the worry in his heart and continued to ask. The Master of the Moon Temple and the Master of the Mountain of Flames are good friends. The Master of the Mountain of Flames recognized the Phoenix Girl's dark phoenix body and brought her back to the Mountain of Flames. As for Long Outyin, the Master of the Mountain of Flames seemed to be very familiar with Long Outyin's elders and brought him back. Although Long Outyin was unwilling, he couldn't fight against the Master of the Mountain of Flames. The moon god smiled. It turned out that the Phoenix Girl and Long Outyin had their own encounters. Chapter 495. Ling Xiao was furious. The Phoenix Girl was a maid that he had painstakingly taken in, but she was snatched away by the Lord of Blazing Mountain. This made him extremely depressed. The Blazing Mountain was a martial holy land that was not inferior to the Moon Palace. It was also the ancestral land of the flying beasts. It was said that the Lord of Blazing Mountain was a flaming phoenix. The Phoenix Girl could be considered to have returned to the Phoenix clan. Once she learned the Phoenix clan's secret technique, having a saintess as her maid would definitely be a great thing. As for Long Outyin, the Dragon clan and the Phoenix clan had a close relationship. This should be the reason why the Lord of Blazing Mountain took Long Outyin away. After all, Long Outyin had run away from home. The East Ocean Crystal Palace would probably be in an uproar. The moon goddess said faintly, Long Outyin asked me to tell you to head to the East Ocean as soon as possible. There was a trace of curiosity in her eyes. The more she understood, the more she felt that Ling Xiao was mysterious. He was actually related to the East Ocean Crystal Palace. Who exactly was this young man? Ling Xiao, don't worry. Shuewei will definitely be fine. When we are stronger, we will go to the Reincarnation Ocean and teach that reincarnation beast a lesson. If it wasn't for my injuries, I would have definitely beaten that bastard up. The old goat said gloomily. Obviously, he was still brooding over being chased by the reincarnation beast like a stray dog. Ling Xiao, how did you escape from the Reincarnation Ocean? The moon goddess asked curiously. The reincarnation energy in the Reincarnation Ocean was chaotic and terrifying. Sovereigns would definitely die if they entered, and even sovereigns would not dare to touch it. However, Ling Xiao was still alive and kicking without any injuries. I had a narrow escape in the Reincarnation Ocean. Fortunately, I met a sovereign from the Shura sect. That was how I managed to escape and reach the War God continent. Ling Xiao explained slowly. The matter of Pangdechu was very important, so Ling Xiao did not say it out loud. Instead, he found an excuse. He explained how he arrived at the War God continent, how he saved Luwan how he became enemies with the Star Palace, and what happened after that. However, Ling Xiao omitted the Bronze Divine Palace and the five-colored Sacred Mountain. Ling Xiao, you just arrived at the War God continent and you already killed 2 half-step sovereigns. The old goat's eyes widened. His eyes were filled with amazement. I didn't do it, but it does have something to do with me. Ling Xiao laughed bitterly. Moon God, old goat, and the others were all shocked. They didn't expect Ling Xiao to cause such a huge commotion as soon as he arrived at the War God continent. Although the Lu family in Stellar Sky City could not be compared to those ancient clans, they were still a famous family. Not only did their old ancestor die in the hands of Ling Xiao, but they were also almost wiped out by Ling Xiao. The Lu clan is indeed despicable. The disciples of Lu Guchen, the Heavenly Star Supremacy, are actually a bunch of shameless bastards. And Star Palace, bullying others with their power. What the hell was that? I heard that the disciples of Star Palace have also arrived at Heavenly God City. When the time comes, let's kill a few stars from Star Palace for fun. the old goat said with righteous indignation, as if he wanted to see the world plunged into chaos. Don't make a fuss. The holy land of martial Tao is not something you can imagine. The terror of a supreme being far surpasses that of a half-step supreme being. Moon God glared at old goat and said with a tinge of worry in her eyes, I can go back and ask Master to see if he can resolve the grudge between you and Star Palace. The death of a half-step supreme being elder is definitely not a small matter. It might even alarm a supreme being. Even with Moon God's calm state of mind, her face was grave when she mentioned supreme being. So what if he's a supreme being? There are so many holy lands of martial Tao in the War God continent. If they force us to submit to the War God Temple, with Ling Zhao's and my peerless talents, the War God Temple will definitely beg us to join them. Why should we be afraid of a mere Star Palace? The old goat sneered. Although Ling Zhao had not been in the War God continent for long, he already knew all the top forces in the continent. There were not many changes compared to 10,000 years ago. The holy lands of martial Tao in the War God continent could be summarized as 1 hall, 2 temples, 3 mountains, 4 kingdoms, 5 pavilions, 6 palaces, 7 sects. There were also the legendary 8 forbidden. The so-called First Temple referred to the War God Temple. The War God Temple was the strongest, most mysterious, most terrifying, and most ancient force in the War God continent. The Second Temple referred to the Tempest Temple and Mingwang Temple. They were the holy lands of Buddhism. The 3 mountains referred to the Kunlun Mountain, Emperor Tomb Mountain, and Blazing Mountain. The 4 kingdoms referred to the Ancient Kingdom of Azure Dragon, Ancient Kingdom of White Tiger, Ancient Kingdom of Phoenix, and Ancient Kingdom of Black Tortoise. The 5 pavilions referred to the Sword God Pavilion, Mad Blade Pavilion, Underworld Pavilion, Heavenly Court Pavilion, and Precious Treasure Pavilion. The 6 palaces referred to the Crystal Palace, Purple Cloud Palace, Sun Palace, Moon Palace, Star Palace, and Sky Demon Palace. The 7 sects referred to the Black Heaven Sect, Azura Sect, Walkabout Sect, Limitless Demon Sect, 7 Emotions and 6 Desires Demon Sect, Abyss Demon Sect, and Netherworld Sect. The 8 Forbidden Grounds referred to the 8 Forbidden Grounds. They were forbidden grounds for life. Even Supreme Being experts were wary of them. They were Time Cave, God Burial Cave, Universe River, Heavenly Devil Ancient Land, Thousand Coffin Mountain, Holy Ground, Primitive Ancient Mine, and Reincarnation Sea. The 1 temple, 2 temples, 3 mountains, 4 kingdoms, 5 pavilions, 6 palaces, and 7 sects were the oldest holy lands in the War God continent. Each holy land of martial Tao had more than 1 supreme being. Of course, other than these, there were many hidden ancient clans and sections. Some of them were not weaker than these holy lands of martial Tao. It was just that they kept a low profile and did not have much fame. Of course, 10,000 years ago, it should be called 1 temple, 2 temples, 3 mountains, 4 kingdoms, 5 pavilions, 6 palaces, and 7 sects. The world revered the Longevity Sect. 10,000 years ago, the Longevity Sect was the #1 holy land of martial Tao. However, the Longevity Sect was like a flash in the pan and disappeared very quickly. Today, the most powerful force on the War God continent was still the War God Temple. Ling Zhao knew how terrifying the War God Temple was. In his previous life, even when the Longevity Sect was at its peak, Ling Zhao did not know the true strength of the War God Temple. War God Temple? I heard that the War God Temple hasn't had a successor for 1,000 years. This holy land is the most mysterious. No one even knows where their mountain gate is. Taoist Wu Liang, who had been observing Ling Zhao and the old goat, could not help but chuckle. There was a cold gleam in his eyes. The War God Temple is still too far away. However, if we offend the Star Palace, so be it. Do they really think that we are afraid of them? Ling Zhao smiled faintly and there was a tinge of confidence in his eyes. That's right. I heard that the seniors of the Star Palace are buried in a star land. When I find out, I will dig up their ancestral graves. I believe I will be able to find a lot of treasures. The old goat said with a sneaky smile. You are. Taoist Wu Liang suddenly trembled. He could not help but widen his eyes. His finger that was pointing at the old goat was trembling, and his eyes were filled with excitement. Greedy and lecherous old bastard. You don't even recognize me. Are you blind? The old goat laughed. Although he was scolding, his eyes were filled with excitement. He knew that Taoist Wu Liang recognized him. Rumble. Just when Ling Xiao thought that the old goat and Taoist Wu Liang were going to hug each other and cry, the door of the room was suddenly kicked open by a huge force. Who is Ling Xiao? Get out here. Chapter 496. People from Star Palace? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he saw the group of young geniuses in the room. They were wearing star robes, and there were both males and females. The males were handsome while the females were beautiful. All of their faces were filled with arrogance. Especially the leader of the group, a young man in a black robe. He had silver hair and a handsome figure. He looked indifferent, and there seemed to be silver light shooting out from his eyes. He stood there as if there were countless stars revolving around him. The light was blazing and he gave out a cold and dark evil aura. The cultivation of the young man in a black robe was at the peak of level 9 noble realm. However, Ling Xiao could feel that he was suppressing his cultivation intentionally. He must have cultivated many earth-shattering superpowers. Ling Xiao felt that he was extremely dangerous, even more so than an ordinary expert of the imperial path. Ling Xiao, are you the one who killed junior brother Chen and the other two? Kneel down and accept your death. The one who spoke was a cold and arrogant young man. His gaze was extremely cold, and he recognized Ling Xiao at first glance. He ordered Ling Xiao to kneel down and admit his guilt. The old goat and Taoist Wu Liang had a strange look in their eyes. Just as they were talking about Star Palace, the people from Star Palace came. Wasn't this a little too timely? Who are you? I don't know junior brother Chen or junior brother Wang. If you don't want to die, get out. Ling Xiao smiled indifferently, and there was a glint of sharpness in his eyes. He didn't even stand up. The wine in the wine cup didn't even sway. Ling Xiao didn't even look at the people from Star Palace. He lifted the wine cup and took a sip. Such disregard, such arrogance, instantly caused everyone from Star Palace to reveal an extremely furious expression. The disciples from Star Palace were the center of attention wherever they went. Which of the disciples from the aristocratic families and sects didn't serve them carefully? They had long cultivated an arrogant bearing. At that moment, they were disregarded by Ling Xiao and they instantly felt extremely humiliated. You're courting death. The cold and arrogant young man's gaze turned cold. Although he knew that Ling Xiao wasn't simple, he looked like he was only at level 1 noble realm. He was 2 or 3 levels lower than him. The cold and arrogant young man suddenly shot out a ray of starlight from his fingertip. He wanted to pierce the wine cup in Ling Xiao's hand and make him suffer. Whoosh! The starlight was like a sword, containing an unparalleled sharpness. When the arrogant young man attacked with all his strength, there was a bit of a shocking atmosphere. A cold light flashed through Ling Xiao's eyes. The wine cup in his hand turned into a streak of light as it flew out. It contained an unparalleled force, shattering the streak of starlight before viciously slamming it into the arrogant young man's face. Pa! The cold and arrogant young man spat out a mouthful of blood. Half of his face instantly swelled up. Ling Xiao's attack was as fast as lightning, and he was very close to the arrogant youth. Even the black-robed youth did not have time to react before the arrogant youth was sent flying. What? Everyone from Star Palace was shocked, and they revealed a look of shock and anger. Too arrogant. Ling Xiao, you deserve to die. Senior brother Tan Lang, kill this bastard. The disciples of Star Palace spoke one after another. Their voices were cold, and they were filled with anger and murderous intention. Ling Xiao, you're only at LV1 of the noble realm, but you were able to kill junior brother Chen, and the other two. You do have something to be proud of. However, in front of Star Palace, you're just an ant that can be crushed to death anytime. The black-robed youth, who was Tan Lang's star son, walked out. He gave out a cold and powerful aura. His eyes seemed to be blazing with a silver light that shot towards Ling Xiao. I've said that I don't know junior brother Chen, or junior brother Wang from Star Palace. I'm afraid you've got the wrong person. If you continue to pester me, don't blame me for being rude. Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a cold light as he spoke faintly. He Chengji from Star Palace had died in the Divine Bronze Palace, and there was no trace left behind. The 3 disciples from Star Palace had also been burned into ashes by Ling Xiao's devouring heaven fire. Star Palace couldn't find any evidence at all. Hence, Ling Xiao would never admit that he had killed anyone from Star Palace. Just as Ling Xiao was confronting Tan Lang and the others, at the top of the Supreme Tower, the second prince was looking at a display stone in front of him. It displayed the situation in Ling Xiao's room, and his eyes were filled with a cold smile. Your Highness, we've told Tan Lang about Ling Xiao. If there were casualties in their battle, would His Majesty blame Your Highness? Behind the second prince, a fat man in a shopkeeper's uniform said carefully as he wiped the sweat off his forehead. The Supreme Tower was the property of the royal family of the ancient kingdom of Dragon. This fatty was the shopkeeper of the Supreme Tower. Although he was displeased with the second prince for causing the conflict between Ling Xiao and Tan Lang, he did not dare to voice it out. Don't worry. I've already sent Ninth Sister away. His green dragon guards won't come here. As long as Tan Lang doesn't make too much noise, he won't attract attention. The second prince laughed coldly and said, Ling Xiao can only blame himself. After offending Star Palace, he even dared to offend me. He deserved to die. He's merely in level 1 noble realm. If Tan Lang wants to take him down, it'll be a piece of cake. I hope so. The fat shopkeeper laughed bitterly. If there was really a big mess in the Supreme Tower, the second prince would definitely be fine. He was afraid that he would become the scapegoat. He also hoped that Tan Lang could take Ling Xiao down quickly. It would be best if he did not alarm the other guests. In the private room, Tan Lang stared at Ling Xiao intently. His eyes were blazing and extremely aggressive. He said coldly, Ling Xiao, you know very well whether you killed anyone or not. Even if you didn't kill anyone, if I say you killed someone, you killed someone. Are you going to surrender, or are you waiting for me to take action? Tan Lang's words were domineering and decisive. He was indifferent to life as if it was nothing. A strong aura spread from his body, and he wanted to take action against Ling Xiao. Star Palace is really domineering. In Heavenly God City, do you really dare to take action? Ling Xiao laughed coldly. His eyes were filled with fighting spirit. As one of the 5 stars of Star Palace, Tan Lang's Starchild was said to have Tan Lang's life horoscope. He could summon the divine power of Tan Lang's star, and was extremely strong. Ling Xiao wanted to see how strong such an opponent was. Don't worry. 3 moves are enough to take you down. Tan Lang took a step forward. His body was filled with boundless star power, causing the surrounding void to tremble. A suffocating pressure descended, and even Yueshin's expression changed slightly. Tan Lang lived up to his name as one of the 5 stars of Star Palace. If Tan Lang wanted to, he would have broken through to the monarch realm long ago. 3 moves? You people from Star Palace are really arrogant. Come on, I'll give you 3 moves. If I don't beat you into a pig's head today, I'll write my name backwards. Chapter 497. An old mountain goat? What an ignorant rogue cultivator. How could he choose a mountain goat as his spiritual pet? Ling Xiao, take care of your spiritual pet. Otherwise, I don't mind killing it first. A look of disdain appeared in Tan Lang's eyes as he said coldly. The old mountain goat's mastery of the heaven-devouring secret skill was higher than Ling Xiao's. He had already condensed the King Heaven Devourer cauldron. Usually his aura was not obvious. Even Tan Lang could not tell how strong the old mountain goat was. As soon as Tan Lang finished speaking, the old mountain goat was enraged. His eyes were filled with hostility and he suddenly kicked Tan Lang with his hoof. You're the fucking spiritual pet. Your whole family are spiritual pets. You're pissing me off. I'll beat you to death, you bastard. The old mountain goat roared like a clap of thunder. At the same time, he used the secret skill of teleportation, and appeared behind Tan Lang in an instant. His hoof was filled with golden light that contained terrifying power. It was like a divine mountain pressing down. The old mountain goat's attack was too wretched. However, the effect was surprisingly good. Tan Lang did not even have time to react before the old mountain goat's hoof kicked his head. Dang! As if he had kicked a hard metal, there was a sound of metal clashing. Tan Lang felt his head turn black, and he was instantly sent flying. He smashed the window and landed on the street. Trash, you can't even take a hit from me. How dare you act like a wolf? The old mountain goat blew on his hoof and took small steps as he said proudly, "Bastard, I'm going to kill you." A furious roar exploded like a clap of thunder. Tan Lang was so furious that he almost fainted. A moment ago, he was still saying that he would take down Ling Xiao in 3 moves. In the end, he was directly attacked by Ling Xiao's spiritual pet. The old mountain goat was too wretched. Not only did he hide his cultivation, he even used the secret skill of teleportation to kick Tan Lang out of the Supreme Tower. This time, Tan Lang lost all his face. Boom. Tan Lang instantly rushed up from the Supreme Tower. His eyes were filled with blazing killing intent, as if he was about to spit fire. This is the star son of the Starry Wolf from the Star Palace. It's really the star son of the Starry Wolf. Why does he look so miserable? There's a mark on the back of his head. It looks like he was kicked by some demonic beast. Oh my god, this is big news. The Starry Star son of the Starry Wolf was beaten by someone. Could it be someone from the Sun Holy Land and Sun? The violent commotion in the Supreme Tower, and Tan Lang's roar of the Supreme Tower. Many young geniuses were drinking and socializing in the Supreme Tower, and after being alarmed, they all surrounded over. They instantly recognized Greed's identity, and their eyes were filled with incomparable shock. When those discussions reached Greed's ears, his vision suddenly turned black. He was so angry that he was about to go crazy. Is it the Great Stellar Wheel? Senior Tan Lang used this supreme divine power. Ling Xiao and the old mountain goat are dead meat. A disciple from the Star Palace exclaimed in surprise, and he suddenly became excited. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Little Tan Lang, let me teach you how to be a human. The old mountain goat suddenly became excited. He spat out a golden flame from his mouth, and it seemed to have transformed into a golden lotus. Then it collided with the Great Star Wheel. Boom. A terrifying sound wave exploded and divine light swept in all directions. Although the Supreme Tower was extremely sturdy, there were still many tables and chairs that instantly turned into dust. The old mountain goat rolled his eyes, and there was a flash of light around him. He suddenly disappeared from the spot, and appeared behind Tan Lang. Then he kicked Tan Lang's head with his hooves. Bastard! Do you really think I'm not prepared? Go and die. After Tan Lang suffered a loss, he became alert. He felt that the old mountain goat was behind him, and he suddenly sneered. There was a flash of light in his hand, and there was a dazzling silver net. There seemed to be countless runes twinkling on it, and it covered the old mountain goat. You're using a doctrine weapon? You're shameless. The old mountain goat shrieked, and there was a golden lotus twinkling around him. Runes broke the silver net, and he instantly escaped. Ling Xiao was surprised. The old mountain goat's Dao injury had recovered by quite a bit. Even an ordinary expert of the Imperial Road wasn't his match. He didn't expect Tan Lang to be on par with the old mountain goat. On the top floor of the Supreme Tower, the fat shopkeeper and the second prince's faces instantly changed. The second prince's face grew grave, and his eyes were filled with shock. He realized that he had misjudged. The old mountain goat, who didn't seem to be anything special besides his foul mouth, was actually able to fight with Tan Lang. It was simply beyond his imagination. The fat shopkeeper's face turned ashen. He felt that it was over. He, as the head shopkeeper, couldn't escape the blame for causing such a huge commotion. Rumble. The battle became more and more intense. Tan Lang used the Great Star Wheel, and there was boundless starlight around him. There seemed to be a huge star rotating in the void, providing him with boundless star power. This was Tan Lang's divine power. It reflected his Tan Lang's fate and gave him unparalleled strength. However, Tan Lang was also extremely shocked. He didn't expect the old mountain goat to be so difficult to deal with. Not only was his physical strength abnormal, but he also seemed to know a terrifying great ability. The golden true devouring fire burned everything. Even Tan Lang's silver net Dao tool was destroyed by the true devouring fire in the end. Stop. A clear female voice rang out. Rumble. In the distance, the earth shook as the Azure Dragon scale horse came over. The 9th princess and the Azure Dragon guard were rushing over. Roar. A terrifying dragon roar rang out. The 9th princess, who was in the lead, rode the dragon scale horse. Her azure armor outlined her perfect curves. She soared into the sky on the dragon scale horse. Her body was filled with dragon might. An azure dragon appeared behind her and charged at Tan Lang and the old mountain goat. Rumble. The azure dragon was boundless and seemed to be connected to the mysterious power of Heavenly God City. It instantly blasted away Tan Lang and the old mountain goat. The power of Heavenly God City's dragon vein? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He could clearly sense that the azure dragon formed by the 9th princess had mobilized a trace of the power of Heavenly God City's dragon vein. Is this the power of the dragon god scripture? I heard that the royal family of the ancient kingdom of Azure Dragon and the dragon clan of the Eastern Sea Crystal Palace have the same bloodline. Perhaps it's true. Ling Xiao thought to himself. During the Heavenly God Assembly, private fights are prohibited. Do you think the Azure Dragon Guard is a vegetarian? Chapter 498. How arrogant. Since when did the ancient kingdom of Dragon have the right to interfere with the matters of the Star Palace? Get out of my way. Whoever dares to stop me from killing today, I will kill him first. Tan Lang said arrogantly, and his eyes were filled with cold murderous intent. The sneak attack by the old goat had caused Tan Lang to lose face. Only by killing the old goat and Ling Xiao could he wash away the shame with their blood. Hence, the rule of no killing during the Heavenly God Convention was thrown aside by Tan Lang. Good, very good. Since the Star Palace doesn't abide by the rules of the ancient kingdom of Dragon, get out of the Heavenly God City. Yuan Wan's eyes flashed coldly. She didn't give Tan Lang any face and scolded him directly. She also knew that Tan Lang's identity wasn't ordinary. Hence, she didn't ask the Azure Dragon Guards to kill him directly. Whether or not they could kill Tan Lang was another matter. However, if it affected the relationship between the ancient kingdom of Dragon and the Star Palace, it would be a big problem. However, this young lady had a fiery temper. Seeing Tan Lang contradicting her, she didn't give him any face. Seeing that Tan Lang was about to go berserk, the second prince complained in his heart and hated Ling Xiao even more. However, he knew that if he didn't step in, things would get out of hand. Brother Tan Lang, so you are here. Why lower yourself to the same level as an ant? With Brother Greedy Wolf's strength, he could crush them any time he wanted. Today, take it as giving me face and let them off temporarily. After all, the Heavenly God Convention is about to start, isn't it? The second prince walked out and smiled at Tan Lang. Tan Lang was in a difficult position. He didn't want to fall out with the ancient kingdom of Dragon, and he knew that he couldn't kill Ling Xiao for the time being. He also didn't want to lose face. Seeing that the second prince had given him a way out, his expression gradually returned to normal. Since your highness has given the order, Tan Lang naturally has to give your highness face. I will let these ants off temporarily. I hope that you can stay in the Heavenly God City. Otherwise, when you leave the Heavenly God City, it will be the day of your death. Tan Lang said as he looked at Ling Xiao and the old goat coldly. Haha, you dare to threaten me? Do you believe that I won't make you reincarnate any time? Don't try to act all high and mighty in front of me. Otherwise, it won't be as simple as kicking your head next time. The old goat laughed disdainfully. His words poked at Tan Lang's sore spot. The killing intent in Tan Lang's eyes intensified. Miss Moon Goddess, as the saying goes, summer insects should not be spoken of in ice. Divine dragons and ants are not people of the same world. You are a proud daughter of the heavens. It is better for you not to be together with these lowly people. The second prince glanced at the moon god and smiled. Your highness need not worry. In my eyes, Ling Xiao is the dragon god, and your highness. Moon god smiled faintly. Her voice was extremely cold. She did not say a word, but her meaning was self-evident. The second prince's face stiffened. Yueshan was merciless. Ling Xiao was a divine dragon. What was the second prince? Ants? After Yuan heard the second prince's words, she couldn't help but frown, but she didn't say anything. She looked at Ling Xiao and said, You're Ling Xiao? I hope you can abide by the rules of Heavenly God City. Otherwise, don't blame me for chasing you out of Heavenly God City. Thank you for your reminder, ninth princess. If people don't offend me, I won't offend them. If people offend me, they are courting death. Ling Xiao smiled and glanced at Tanlang and the people from Star Palace. Taoist Wu Liang walked out with bright eyes and said, "Wan Wan, do you still remember me? When I saw you before, I couldn't stop thinking about you. Wan Wan, only a handsome man like me is worthy of your peerless beauty. Wan Wan, don't go." As soon as Taoist Wu Liang opened his mouth, Yuan Wan's face stiffened. Her eyes revealed a murderous look, and her forehead was full of black lines. However, in public, she held back and hurriedly turned her horse around to leave. Seeing that Taoist Wu Liang dared to flirt with the 9th princess in public, everyone had a strange look in their eyes. "She's gone. Stop looking. You will be beaten to death sooner or later," Ling Xiao said helplessly. "A fair lady is a good match for a gentleman. Wan must have secretly fallen in love with me. That's why she ran away shyly." Taoist Wu Liang looked at Yuan Wan's back, and his eyes were filled with infatuation. Ling Xiao rolled his eyes. Just as he was about to say something, he suddenly felt a cold murderous intent locking onto him. Swoosh! A ray of purple flowing light was extremely fast. It seemed to have pierced through the void and shot towards Ling Xiao's forehead. It was a purple feather arrow. There was no fluctuation. When it was close to Ling Xiao, it exploded with extreme speed. It had a sharpness that could pierce through everything. "Bastard, how dare you launch a sneak attack?" The infatuation in Taoist Wu Liang's eyes disappeared. In an instant, there was a burst of light. He waved the horsetail whisk in his hand. Like a divine chain of order, it instantly wrapped around the feather arrow and shattered it. What a terrifying feather arrow. If an emperor is not careful, he could be killed in one hit. "Who is it?" Moon Goddess's eyes also revealed a trace of shock. She couldn't figure out who it was that dared to launch a sneak attack on Ling Xiao in public. "Ha ha ha. Ling Xiao, it seems like you have a lot of enemies. I think you won't be able to leave Heavenly God City alive." Tanlang and the second prince both laughed coldly. Their eyes were filled with satisfaction as they turned and left. The one who attacked was an emperor. He used a special technique to hide his presence, and has already escaped. The feather arrow was shot from 100 miles away. Damn it. Old Goat's eyes flashed. He realized that the person who attacked was very decisive. After the arrow was shot, he had already cut off his presence and left. Who else could it be? Who else could it be other than the Nantian family? Since you want to die, don't blame me for being impolite. Ling Xiao's eyes revealed an incomparably cold light. He was completely enraged. Ling Xiao was almost instantly sure that the person who attacked him was from the Nantian family. Even if it wasn't, it must have something to do with the Nantian family. Assassinating Ling Xiao in public was both to intimidate and to establish dominance. Such an arrogant and domineering method was simply unscrupulous. It was as if telling Ling Xiao that he was dead meat, and that no one could save him. If Ling Xiao was just an ordinary cultivator at the first level of the noble plane, the arrow would have taken his life. Nantian family? That bunch of bastards actually dared to do such a thing? They lost the stone gambling bet. How shameless. Let's go directly to the Nantian family and kill them all. Old Goat's eyes also revealed a trace of blood-red killing intent. He was extremely furious. Assassinating in public was simply a brazen provocation. Let's go to the Southern Sky House. Ling Xiao's lips revealed a trace of a cold smile as he spoke slowly. Old Goat and Taoist Wu Liang were slightly stunned. Why are we going to the Southern Sky House? To collect some interest first. I heard that the ancient stones in the Southern Sky House are even more valuable than the precious treasure pavilion. Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with coldness. Chapter 499. Stone gambling? Ha ha ha, this emperor likes it. Let's take away all the ancient stones from the Southern Sky Temple, and leave nothing for them. The old goat's eyes lit up and were filled with excitement. Ancient stones contained supreme treasures, but the price of ancient stones was also incomparably high. Stone gambling was very likely to make a fortune, but it was also possible to lose all of one's fortune. As the saying goes, even an immortal would find it difficult to cut an inch of jade. No one knew whether the ancient stones contained supreme treasures or trash. The Southern Sky Temple was located in the west of the city. Although it wasn't as quiet as the Precious Treasure Pavilion, it was still very imposing. It was a huge palace complex with glowing treasures. Ling Xiao, the moon goddess, the old goat, and Taoist Wuliang walked towards the Southern Sky Temple. They couldn't help but exclaim when they saw the huge palace complex. Although the Nantian family wasn't as rich as the Precious Treasure Pavilion, it was still able to occupy such a large area in Heavenly God City. The Precious Treasure Pavilion and the Southern Sky Temple were the two biggest stone gambling places in Heavenly God City. Almost all the most precious ancient stones were in the Precious Treasure Pavilion and the Southern Sky Temple. There were 3 main halls in the Southern Sky Temple. They were the Human King Hall, the Earth King Hall, and the Heavenly King Hall. There were hundreds of thousands of ancient stones in the 3 halls. They were all collected by the Southern Sky Temple from all over the world. Some had even been placed here for thousands of years, and had become the treasures of the Southern Sky Temple. Esteemed guests, please come in. Ling Xiao and the other 3 had just arrived when a few pretty maids with graceful figures walked over with smiles on their faces and welcomed them in. Although Ling Xiao had offended the Nantian family, it was obvious that the people of the Southern Sky Temple didn't know him. Otherwise, they wouldn't have let them in. Ling Xiao didn't go to the halls that sold weapons and elixirs. Instead, he went straight to the Human King Hall. Ling Xiao, although there are many ancient stones in the Human King Hall, there shouldn't be many precious ones. Why don't we go to the Heavenly King Hall? The old goat glanced at the ancient stones and curled his lips. Although there were a lot of ancient stones, their quality was not as good as the yellow-grade stone garden in the Precious Treasures Pavilion. Although they seemed to be shining with treasure light, and some even contained Tao will, the old goat could still see that most of them were not treasures. Fortunately, there were plenty of ancient stones in the Human King Palace, and the price was cheap. So many young geniuses came here to gamble. Alright, let's go. There really is a very special ancient stone here. Ling Xiao looked around with his heavenly star god eyes, and found that most of the items in the ancient stone were ordinary. Just as he was about to leave, he felt the wordless heavenly book vibrate slightly. The source was precisely the centermost ancient stone. It seemed to be as tall as a person, like a stone man. Resplendent light shone from it, mysterious and unfathomable. Its Tao intent was extremely powerful. However, the wordless heavenly book didn't sense the human-shaped ancient stone. Instead, it was the stone platform beneath the ancient stone. It was dark, squarish, and smooth like glass. What ancient stone have you taken a fancy to? You can tell me that the ancient stones of our Southern Sky Temple are better than those of the Precious Treasure Pavilion, in terms of both quality and price. Who knows, you might even be able to obtain a supreme treasure. A fat man wearing a brocade robe walked over with a chuckle. He looked very kind and was only a LV9 noble realm cultivator. He was the palace master of the Human King Palace. He could tell that the moon goddess and Ling Xiao were extraordinary, so he had come to serve them personally. Although the moon goddess was wearing a veil, her peerless demeanor and otherworldly temperament were enough to amaze anyone who saw her. The fat palace master found it hard to imagine what kind of peerless beauty was beneath the veil. What's the price of the ancient stone in the center? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he asked slowly. You've taken a fancy to this sacred stone? This sacred stone is the treasure of the Human King Palace, and is worth 100,000 pure yang elixirs. It is said that it may contain a terrifying creature. However, those who are not bold enough would not dare to sell this sacred stone. Would you like to give it a try? The fat palace master had not expected Ling Xiao to take a fancy to the treasure of the Human King Palace. It was also the most precious ancient stone in the Human King Palace. He immediately introduced it to Ling Xiao enthusiastically. If the fat palace master could sell this sacred stone, he would be able to earn a lot of pure yang elixirs as commission. I'm not talking about the Human King ancient stone, but the square glazed stone beneath it, Ling Xiao said with a smile. He had not expected the Human King ancient stone to be sold for 100,000 pure yang elixirs. However, the wordless heavenly book did not show any reaction. Although Ling Xiao's heavenly star god eyes could not see through the ancient stone, he could sense that there might not be any treasure in it. What? That glazed stone? The fat palace master was stunned. He had not expected Ling Xiao to take a fancy to the glazed stone. Although the glazed stone was also an ancient stone, it was extremely ordinary and square. Hence, it was used as a platform for the human king ancient stone. Why? Are you not selling that glazed stone? Ling Xiao asked. No. I'm just curious why you don't want to buy the human king ancient stone, but an ordinary glazed stone. That glazed stone is not cheap and there is a high possibility that nothing can be cut out of it. Would you like to exchange for another one? The fat palace master kindly reminded Ling Xiao. There is no need to exchange. I want this glazed stone. Ling Xiao insisted. The fat palace master sighed and said, this glazed stone is sold for 10,000 pure yang elixirs. Since you insist, I won't persuade you anymore. However, you might be disappointed. Don't worry. I'm just playing with it. Ling Xiao smiled. He felt that the fat palace master was a good person. Ling Xiao, are you sure that there is a treasure in that glazed stone? It looks ordinary and seems to have been polished manually. Don't spend 10,000 pure yang elixirs on a useless stone. Pure yang elixirs are a small matter, but losing face is a big matter. The old goat muttered in a low voice. His eyes were filled with suspicion. Trust me. This ancient stone is the most precious thing in the human king palace. Ling Xiao smiled and did not explain. However, seeing Ling Xiao's confident look, the old goat did not continue to persuade him. Since Ling Xiao had given 10,000 pure yang elixirs to the fat palace master, the glazed stone belonged to Ling Xiao. The fat palace master asked enthusiastically, do you need someone to cut the stone? We can cut the stone for you for free. There is no need. Ling Xiao smiled and grabbed the huge glazed stone. Then he threw it to the ground. Bang! The human king palace shook violently, startling everyone. They quickly turned to look at Ling Xiao. They saw that the glazed stone had been smashed to pieces by Ling Xiao. Then a black ancient stone the size of a watermelon was revealed. What? It is a stone in a stone? The fat palace master was shocked and could not help but exclaim. His eyes were filled with disbelief. The so-called stone in a stone meant that there was another layer of ancient stone within the ancient stone. Generally, there would be treasures in the stone in a stone, and they would be extremely precious treasures. The fat palace master did not expect that there would be a stone in a normal glazed stone. The fat palace master smiled bitterly. He had to admit that he regretted it. Chapter 500. The black ancient stone was sparkling and translucent. Strands of Tao inscriptions intertwined and formed a mysterious pattern on the surface of the ancient stone. It looked extraordinary. There's a stone in this colored glazed stone? How is that possible? Oh my God. I knew that this colored glazed stone was not simple. If only I could have bought it earlier. Who is so bold to buy this colored glazed stone? He is. Ling Xiao. Everyone was shocked and gathered around. When they saw the black ancient stone in the colored glazed stone, their eyes were filled with envy. When the crowd saw Ling Xiao, some of them were shocked as they recognized Ling Xiao. What? He's the Ling Xiao who cut out the longevity cicada in the treasure pavilion? He made the third young master, Nantian sword, kneel down and apologize to him. He even slapped himself. The Nantian family hates him to the core. How dare he come to the Southern Sky House? This is going to be interesting. Ha! I'm afraid the third young master will be here soon. By then this kid will suffer. After the crowd recognized Ling Xiao, some were gloating, some were shocked, some had cold expressions, and some had jealous looks in their eyes. What? You're Ling Xiao? The fat palace master's face turned green instantly and he looked terrible. Ling Xiao, you've got me in trouble. Why did you come to the Southern Sky House? You even bought such a precious colored glazed stone. If the third young master finds out, I'll be dead. The fat shopkeeper's face was sullen, and the fat on his body was trembling. He looked at Ling Xiao with eyes full of resentment. You didn't ask me. Ling Xiao touched his nose and said innocently. The fat palace master was about to spit out blood. He didn't ask, but you're trying to get me in trouble. I'm in trouble. Ling Xiao didn't care about the fat palace master's resentment. He picked up the black ancient stone and examined it carefully. His eyes were filled with shock. This ancient stone is the real dragon blood jade. The ancient stone was filled with faint dragon power. The Tao inscriptions were like real dragons spiraling around. They were crystal clear and mysterious. Is it really the true dragon blood jade? Moreover, it's a top-grade true dragon blood jade. Such a large piece of true dragon blood jade is enough to refine a powerful supreme weapon. Taoist Wu Yang's eyes flashed with a glint. The old goat immediately became excited. If the ancient stones outside were all true dragon blood jades, then what kind of precious treasure would be inside? Quickly cut it open and take a look, the old goat urged. All right. Ling Xiao took a deep breath and focused. He used the wordless heavenly book to sense the location of the treasure in the true dragon blood jade. With a flash of light in his hand, the sky-swallowing sword turned into a sharp black dagger. Whoosh! A streak of resplendent sword light flashed past. Soaring sky actually directly chopped the true dragon blood jade into two halves. The fat palace master and everyone else were so scared that their bodies trembled. Was this guy too careless, or did he really not know how to cut stones? Which stone cutter didn't carefully cut stones, afraid that they would destroy the treasure inside? Ling Xiao, on the other hand, actually directly chopped down with a sword. Buzz! A streak of resplendent light was emitted from the true dragon blood jade. It was dazzling and a resplendent pearl flew out. It was the size of a fist and emitted a dazzling golden light. It was surging with auspicious air and filled with dragon power. It was extremely spiritual. The golden pearl trembled slightly in the void and wanted to fly away. Ling Xiao was already prepared. Suddenly, a streak of golden heaven-swallowing true qi gushed out and grabbed the golden pearl. Could this be the legendary dragon pearl? Someone exclaimed. His eyes were filled with incomparable fervor. The golden pearl was dazzling and flawless. It was enshrouded in a dense luster, as if a small golden dragon was emitting from it. It was mysterious and unfathomable. The legendary dragon pearl was the essence of the dragon tribe. After breaking through to the demon king realm, they would begin to condense the dragon pearl. It was the foundation of their superpowers and the essence of their flesh and blood. If they lost the dragon pearl, the dragon tribe would lose half of their strength. However, according to the difference in bloodline, the dragon pearl could be divided into Jiao dragon pearl, earth dragon pearl, flying dragon pearl, sky dragon pearl, and true dragon pearl. The dragon pearl in Ling Xiao's hand must be the true dragon pearl. The true dragon pearl could only be contained within the true dragon blood jade, because the true dragon blood jade absorbed the true dragon's blood and dragon pearl's qi. It was a top-notch treasure that was formed after countless years of nurturing. The true dragon pearl meant that the pearl in Ling Xiao's hand contained all the essence of a venerable true dragon, and even the martial path superpowers. At the thought of this, everyone's eyes became incomparably fervent. Some even revealed greedy murderous intent, eager to snatch it from Ling Xiao's hands. The true dragon pearl was a treasure that was not inferior to the longevity cicada that Ling Xiao obtained. It might even be better. It was said that after refining the true dragon pearl, not only could one obtain the blood qi essence, martial path comprehension, and superpowers within the true dragon pearl, it could even increase the possibility of becoming a righteous paragon. This true dragon pearl had a fatal attraction to martial artists below the venerable realm. What are you doing? Get out of my way. I'll kill anyone who dares to make a move. The old goat's eyes revealed a trace of vigilance as he exuded an incomparably terrifying aura. Ling Xiao's eyes also revealed a trace of a cold light. If someone really didn't know how to appreciate his kindness, he wouldn't mind starting a massacre in the Southern Sky Temple. Ling Xiao didn't plan to sell this true dragon pearl to anyone. With the true dragon pearl, Ling Xiao would soon be able to break through to the heavenly dragon body. At that time, once the heavenly dragon body was completed, he would possess a peerless battle body that could crush emperors. The true dragon pearl was the foundation for Ling Xiao to break through the ancestral dragon's secret technique, so he had to keep it. Everyone immediately came to their senses. The old goat in front of them wasn't someone to be trifled with. Even the greedy wolf Starchild couldn't do anything to him. He was definitely a peerless demon king. The news of the true dragon pearl being obtained from the human king palace instantly flew out as if it had grown wings. The young talents all went to inform the seniors of their sections. No matter what, they had to obtain this true dragon pearl. Nantienda, I heard that someone obtained the true dragon pearl? I was just worried that I didn't have a birthday gift for my father. I want this true dragon pearl. An extremely arrogant and cold voice was heard. Before the other old monsters arrived, the people from the Nantian family had already rushed over after hearing the news. When Ling Xiao and Taoist Wuliang heard this voice, their eyes revealed an extremely strange expression. It was Nan Tianjian. Sure enough, in the next moment, Nan Tianjian led a group of lackeys into the Human King Palace impatiently. His eyes were filled with incomparable excitement. However, when he saw Ling Xiao, his face instantly stiffened. Nan Tianjian suddenly had a bad premonition. The person who obtained the true dragon pearl couldn't be Ling Xiao, right? Chapter 501. Third Young Master. This real dragon pearl was obtained by Ling Xiao. The fat palace lord, Nan Tienda, looked at Nan Tianjian anxiously with a long face. Hearing Nan Tienda's words, Nan Tianjian's face twitched uncontrollably. Why? Ling Xiao again. Why was this brat always able to obtain supreme treasures? In the precious treasure pavilion, he obtained the longevity cicada, and in the Southern Sky Temple, he obtained the true dragon pearl. The anger in Southern Sky Sword's heart could not be washed away. Ling Xiao, how dare you come to the Southern Sky Temple? Very well. Since you dare to come, leave your life behind. Nan Tianjian said through gritted teeth. His eyes were filled with cold, killing intent. Ling Xiao glanced at Nan Tianjian and smiled. The Southern Sky Temple is open for guests. Why can't I come here? Regardless of whether you dare to kill me here. Even if you dare, do you have the strength to do so? Ling Xiao's smile was faint and filled with disregard and indifference. Nan Tianjian could not hold it in any longer, and his eyes were filled with coldness. Ling Xiao, you're courting death. Nan Tianjian was filled with anger. When he saw Ling Xiao, it reminded him of the humiliation of kneeling before Ling Xiao and slapping himself. He could not hold it in any longer, and a powerful aura erupted from his body as he threw a punch at Ling Xiao. Nantian Sword's cultivation of the 9th level of the noble realm burst forth. His punch contained the power of 9 great superpowers. Behind him, an ancient stone gate seemed to appear, exuding a power that could suppress everything. Scram! Ling Xiao spat out a word coldly, and threw out a punch as well. The golden divine light was accompanied by a vast dragon's might. It was as if a golden divine dragon was sweeping over, containing the power to destroy everything. Crack! The stone door behind Nan Tianjian was shattered by the divine dragon. Then a powerful force swept over, and sent Nan Tianjian flying dozens of feet away. He landed heavily on the ground outside the Human King Palace. What? Many young talents in the Human King Palace were shocked, and their eyes were filled with disbelief. Ling Xiao was in the limelight in Heavenly God City, because his luck was too good. He had obtained many treasures and offended the Nantian clan and Star Palace. However, Ling Xiao was only in the 1st level of the noble realm. Although Nantian Sword was a bit of a spoiled brat, he was still a LV9 noble realm cultivator. How could he not be able to withstand one punch from Ling Xiao? Puff! Southern Sky Sword's internal organs were injured, and he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. His arm had completely lost all feeling, and his meridians had been shattered by Ling Xiao. When Ling Xiao punched out, Southern Sky Sword felt as if he was facing an immemorial ferocious beast. The violent and powerful physical strength of Ling Xiao seriously injured him with just one punch. This also meant that if they really fought, he was no match for Ling Xiao. Bastard, how can you be so strong? But no one can save you today. Kill him for me. Nantian Sword's eyes were filled with shock and anger. He pointed at the experts from the Nantian family, and ordered them to kill Ling Xiao. Is the Nantian family going to ignore the rules and kill someone to steal the treasure? If that's the case, I think the Nantian house should close down quickly. If you're afraid of someone else obtaining the treasure, why are you still opening a stone gambling place? Taoist Wuliang stood out with a horsetail whisk in his hand. He looked otherworldly as he glanced at the people from the Nantian family. That's right. I think the Nantian family just wants to kill someone to steal the treasure. The entire Heavenly God City already knows about the birth of the real Dragon Ball. Do you think you can still block the news? I didn't expect the Nantian family to be so shameless. You bunch of upstarts. You won't be able to surpass the precious treasure pavilion, even if you have 10,000 years. The old goat sneered. Boom. At this moment, a black-robed old man, who looked lifeless but had a very strong aura, flew over from the sky. His eyes were filled with an incomparably blazing look. Who obtained the real Dragon Ball? I'll take it. A domineering voice rang out. The black-robed elder was so excited that he was about to go crazy. He didn't have much lifespan left, and was about to turn into dust when he heard about the birth of the real Dragon Ball. If he consumed the real Dragon Ball, even if he reached the end of his lifespan, he could still rely on the majestic energy within the real Dragon Ball to break through the shackles of the Supreme Being realm and obtain 10,000 years of lifespan. Granduncle, the one who obtained the real Dragon Ball is Ling Xiao. If you kill him, the real Dragon Ball will be ours. Nantian Sword said excitedly when he saw the black-robed elder. The black-robed elder was Nantian Sword's granduncle, Chen Yang. He was also the elder who threatened Ling Xiao in the precious treasure pavilion. What? Ling Xiao obtained it? Chen Yang's face instantly turned ugly. It didn't matter who obtained the real Dragon Ball, but it had to be Ling Xiao. How dare this bastard come to the Nantian house? Ling Xiao, you dare to reward Jin? Do you really think the Nantian family is easy to bully? Die. Murderous intent flashed in Chen Yang's eyes as he made up his mind. Terrifying energy erupted from his body as he sent a palm strike towards Ling Xiao. He was planning to kill Ling Xiao before the other old monsters arrived. Boom. Although Chen Yang had fallen from the half-supreme being realm, he had lived for thousands of years. His attack contained the power of the law of heaven and earth. It was as if the world had been turned upside down as the terrifying palm strike seemed to be able to turn everything into dust. Don't you dare hurt our saintess. An old and hoarse voice rang out. A light flashed in the void as a white-haired old woman with a walking stick appeared. The dragon head walking stick in her hand struck down, and instantly shattered the palm strike. Chen Yang was sent flying dozens of feet away as he fell from the void. Granny Goe. The moon goddess's eyes revealed a trace of surprise as she softly called out. The old woman glanced at the moon goddess as the coldness on her face disappeared. She became gentle and asked, Saintess, are you all right? I'm fine. Thank you, Granny Goe. The moon goddess smiled as she heaved a sigh of relief. She didn't expect Chen Yang to be so bold as to directly kill Ling Xiao. Fortunately, Granny Goe had arrived in time. This old woman is an elder of the Moon Palace. She's a half-supreme being with unfathomable cultivation. She's not a human but a plant spirit. The old goat transmitted a message to Ling Xiao. The old goat's voice had a tinge of fear, as if he had suffered in the hands of Granny Goe before. Boy, I heard that you tricked that bastard He Qingji to death? Not bad, not bad. Don't worry, with me around, no one in the Heavenly God City will dare to touch you. Granny Goe glanced at Ling Xiao as a faint smile appeared in her eyes. Ling Xiao was stunned. Granny Goe seemed to have a grudge against He Qingji from the Star Palace. Chapter 502. Ling Xiao was slightly taken aback. He didn't expect Granny Goe of the Lunar Palace to have such a grudge with He Qingji. Elder Goe, is your Lunar Palace going to interfere with the matters of my Nantian family? Chen Yang's eyes revealed a trace of fear. Granny Goe was a ruthless person. She was the saintess of the Lunar Palace when she was young and had killed countless people. Granny Goe had also lived for a few thousand years, which was the same age as Chen Yang, but she maintained the strength of a half-step sovereign. Chen Yang's cultivation had declined, and he was only a 9th-level emperor now. He wasn't Granny Goe's opponent at all. I don't have time to interfere with the matters of your Nantian family. But if you dare to touch Ling Xiao and Yueshan, I'll skin you alive. Granny Goe's eyes flashed as a cold and vast aura spread out, causing Chen Yang's expression to change drastically. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, countless powerful auras swept towards the southern sky house. The news of the true Dragon Pearl's appearance had alarmed many old monsters, and they couldn't sit still anymore. Not only those old monsters, but many geniuses from the sacred grounds had also come. A true dragon pearl might be related to the position of a sovereign, and it was worth fighting for. Who obtained the true dragon pearl? The Wang family of Pingyang is willing to pay 1 million pure yang pills. The Luo family of River East is willing to pay 1 million pure yang pills, and a peerless Dao artifact. Everyone came to the human king's palace, and their eyes were filled with excitement. Little friend, it's you? The Precious Treasure Pavilion's first elder also came to the Southern Sky House. What surprised him was that Ling Xiao was the one who obtained the true dragon pearl. Ling Xiao? The little guy who obtained the longevity cicada? Little guy, sell the true dragon pearl to me. I'll take you as my disciple and pass on all my wealth to you. Don't listen to old Monster Yang's nonsense. Those things of his are nothing. Sell it to me and I'll pass on 3 supreme abilities to you. A group of white-haired old men came in, and their eyes were filled with fervor as they surrounded Ling Xiao. All of them were nearing the end of their lifespans, but their cultivation was extremely powerful. They were at least 9th-level emperors, and a few were half-step sovereigns. These old monsters were all here for the true Dragon Ball. Seniors, this junior does not intend to sell this true dragon pearl for the time being. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. It was absolutely impossible to sell the true Dragon Ball to these old monsters, no one. Not for sale. Many of the old monsters were stunned, and their faces turned ugly. Young friendling, although the true Dragon Pearl contains some great divine abilities, the most important thing is to increase the possibility of becoming a half-step supreme being. It won't be of much use to you. As long as you're willing to sell, you can name any price you want. An old man with white hair and beard advised patiently. Everyone, please don't make things difficult for young friend Ling. Precious Treasure Pavilion's head elder stepped forward and helped Ling Xiao out of his predicament. He said with a slight smile, "How can a supreme treasure like the true dragon pearl be sold here?" 3 days later at the Precious Treasure Pavilion's auction. The treasures in little friend Ling's hands have already been entrusted to my Precious Treasure Pavilion to auction. At that time, everyone might be able to see the true dragon pearl. Hearing the great elder's explanation, the old monster's expressions became better, and they all nodded. Since that's the case, then let's wait for the Precious Treasure Pavilion's auction 3 days later. With Granny Gui and the great elder of the Precious Treasure Pavilion around, those old monsters didn't have any thoughts of snatching it. Although they were a little disappointed, they were all prepared to show off their skills in the auction 3 days later. They must get the true dragon pearl. Seniors, please wait. Ling Xiao smiled and said, "Although I can't sell the true dragon pearl, I plan to make a trip to the Heavenly King Palace. I promise that as long as I can get a treasure that can increase my lifespan, I'll sell it to all of you today. I wonder if you believe in my stone gambling skills?" Go to the Heavenly King Palace? Those old monsters were stunned for a moment. Then they revealed an extremely interested expression and laughed. "Of course we believe in young friendling's stone gambling skills. Even the longevity cicada and the true dragon pearl were obtained by young friendling. Who knows, young friendling might really be able to get a treasure that can increase his lifespan today. This old man will go with you to take a look. Young friendling, this old man will also go take a look." Many old monsters immediately became interested and spoke out one after another. I wonder if the Nantian family will allow Ling Xiao to continue stone gambling? I'm afraid that if I offend the Nantian family, the Heavenly King Palace won't allow Ling Xiao to go. Ling Xiao said with a smile, then glanced at Nantian Sword and Qinyang. Nantian Sword and Qinyang's faces instantly turned ugly. They could tell that Ling Xiao was here to cause trouble today. At this moment, they didn't dare to believe that Ling Xiao was just trying his luck. To be able to get the longevity cicada and the true dragon pearl, this kid must have some stone gambling skills. He must be pretending to be weak. They were afraid that all the ancient stones in the Heavenly King Palace would be swept clean by this kid. The Southern Sky Temple is open for guests. If we don't let young friend Ling Xiao in, I think the Southern Sky Temple won't be open in the future. That's right. The Nantian family wouldn't be so narrow-minded as to stop young friend Ling Xiao from stone gambling, right? A few old monsters spoke out and glanced at Qinyang and Nantian's sword indifferently. The Southern Sky Temple is open for guests. As long as you are a guest, you can naturally enter. With so many old monsters here, Qinyang didn't dare to offend them. He could only grit his teeth and agree. He hated Ling Xiao to the extreme. Ling Xiao was too cunning. He actually used the tiger skin of these old monsters. If the Southern Sky Temple dared to reject Ling Xiao today, their reputation in the entire War God continent would be ruined. These old monsters were nearing the end of their lifespans. Before they died, they would do all sorts of crazy things. Even those martial arts sacred grounds and hidden ancient clans wouldn't dare to offend these old monsters. Granduncle, are we really going to let Ling Xiao go to the Heavenly King Palace? Nantian's sword transmitted his voice unwillingly. What else can we do? But does Ling Xiao really think that our Nantian family's things are so easy to take? Go and inform your big brother. When the time comes, Ling Xiao will lose everything. Chun Yang's eyes were filled with cold killing intent as he transmitted his voice to Nantian's sword. My big brother? Nantian's sword's eyes instantly lit up. He said excitedly, that's right. Big Brother's purple aura spiritual technique has already reached perfection. In terms of stone gambling skills, Ling Xiao is no match for Big Brother. I'll go and find Big Brother now. After saying that, Nantian's sword turned around and left excitedly. Ling Xiao, on the other hand, was accompanied by a group of old monsters as they headed towards the Heavenly King Palace. Chapter 503. The interior of the Heavenly King Palace was very spacious. It was decorated with various precious gems, spiritual crystals as the stone platform, and spiritual spring to nourish the spiritual stones. It was extremely luxurious. There weren't many ancient stones in the Heavenly King Palace, only a little more than 1,000 of them. However, each of them contained a mysterious Tao rhyme. Moreover, each of them had different shapes and exuded a strange fluctuation. The mist was peaceful and auspicious. Many mysterious Tao principles were intertwined, making people feel as if they had arrived at the ancient divine world. However, the ancient stones here were also very expensive. Some of them were even calculated by kilograms. 1 kilogram of ancient stone would cost thousands of pure yang pills. The most amazing thing was the ancient stone in the center of the Heavenly King Palace. It looked like a peerless goddess, emitting 5-colored divine light. Every inch of the ancient stone was covered with mysterious runes. One could tell that this ancient stone was extraordinary. Most of the ancient stones in the Heavenly King Palace came from the depths of the primitive ancient mine, or some forbidden land. Legends said that ancient divine objects were sealed in these stones, and were extremely precious. Every ancient stone here had a sky-high price. Ordinary people simply couldn't afford it. Even those old monsters were secretly speechless. This ancient stone is worth 10,000 pure yang pills per kilogram? It's at least 25 kilograms, right? Is your Southern Sky House a black shop? You're cheating us. The old goat widened his eyes as he looked at the ancient stone that looked like white jade. It was only the size of a fist, but it weighed more than 25 kilograms. It was flowing with a mysterious Tao rhyme. My Southern Sky House's ancient stones are genuine. Don't come here if you can't afford it. You think it's expensive? Go take a look at that goddess stone. It's the treasure of my Heavenly King Palace. It's worth 30 million pure yang pills. Chun Yang sneered as if he finally seized the opportunity to mock Ling Xiao and the others. 30 million pure yang pills? Hee hee, your Southern Sky House is really black. If you really cut out an ancient goddess and she knows that you sold her, I'm afraid she'll raise the Southern Sky House to the ground. The old goat sneered. Ling Xiao roughly looked at the ancient stones in the Southern Sky House. They were worth at least 100,000 pure yang pills. With the amount of pure yang pills he had, he could only buy 3 to 5 of them. Young friend Ling, the ancient stones in the Sky King Palace are incomparably precious. If you can cut out a treasure that can increase one's lifespan, we will definitely buy it at a high price. The group of old monsters looked at Ling Xiao expectantly. The waters of stone gambling were too deep. Even if these old monsters were nearing the end of their lifespans, they still wouldn't dare to try their luck. If they didn't know the art of stone gambling, it was very likely that they would lose everything. However, this young man Ling Xiao was different. He had struck so many times and each time, he had obtained a supreme treasure. This meant that this was not luck at all. This young man was also proficient in the art of stone gambling. These old monsters seemed to have seen hope. I'll try my best. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and walked around the Hall of Heavenly Kings. Finally, he chose an ancient stone. The ancient stone was reddish-brown in color, and there seemed to be blood flowing within it. It looked like a scorpion, and the Tao aura it emitted was also the weakest. Therefore, its price was also the lowest. It was only 100,000 pure yang pills. I thought you would choose some precious ancient stone. I didn't expect you to choose the cheapest scorpion stone. Chen Yang sneered and said, "You don't believe that there is a treasure inside? Why don't we have a bet?" Ling Xiao glanced at Chen Yang and sneered. Chen Yang's face instantly froze. Although he wanted to kill Ling Xiao, he was also afraid of Ling Xiao. This young man seemed to have a pair of eyes that could see through things and see the treasures inside the ancient stone. Naturally, he didn't dare to bet with Ling Xiao. He snorted and turned his head, pretending that he didn't hear Ling Xiao's words. "My young friend, we have seen this scorpion stone before. This ancient stone is either a waste stone or a treasure. It is very risky. My young friend, don't you want to think about it?" The first elder of the Precious Treasure Pavilion said with a smile. "I want to give it a try," Ling Xiao said with a smile. He chose this scorpion stone because although the fluctuation of the wordless heavenly book wasn't the strongest, it was very similar to the soul-breaking stone that opened the longevity cicada. Ling Xiao speculated that there might be a treasure that could increase one's lifespan inside. The palace master of the Heavenly King Palace was an old man with white hair and beard. He sat cross-legged in the Heavenly King Palace with his eyes closed. Even when the crowd arrived, he didn't have any reaction. Ling Xiao could see that even Chen Yang was afraid of this old man. Obviously, this old man's identity was not ordinary. Ling Xiao handed over 100,000 pure yang dan and prepared to cut the stone. Buzz. The scorpion stone was slowly cut open by Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's hand was very steady. The stone was flying, and the scorpion stone became smaller and smaller. Many old monsters were looking forward to it. Crack. In the end, the scorpion stone suddenly cracked open. A mysterious mist filled the air, and a fishy smell assailed their nostrils. It seemed to contain a deadly poison. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. His heaven-devouring true qi swept out and dispersed the mist. A white jade scorpion appeared in the scorpion stone. The white jade scorpion looked very delicate. It was only the size of a finger, but it gave people a scalp-tingling feeling. It was extremely dangerous. "It's the white jade longevity scorpion? Not bad, not bad." Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He was a little surprised, but he also recognized the origin of this white jade scorpion. The white jade longevity scorpion was the same as the longevity cicada. They were both ancient spiritual insects. With the white jade longevity scorpion as the main ingredient, one could refine the white jade longevity scorpion pill. It was a peerless Tao pill. It could increase the lifespan of those below the Supreme Being realm by 560 years. Although the white jade longevity scorpion wasn't as precious as the longevity cicada, this white jade longevity scorpion was enough to refine 5 or 6 white jade longevity scorpion pills. He actually cut out a treasure that can increase lifespan. Although the white jade longevity scorpion is not as good as the longevity cicada, it's still not bad. "Little friend Ling Xiao, I want this white jade longevity scorpion. I'll pay 200,000 pure yang dan. I'll pay 250,000 pure yang dan." Many of the old monsters' eyes were filled with incomparable surprise. Originally, they all had the attitude of giving it a try. They did not expect Ling Xiao to use the white jade longevity scorpion as soon as he made his move. It was simply amazing. "Little friend Ling Xiao, my treasure pavilion will pay 500,000 pure yang dan." The great elder of the treasure pavilion spoke, directly giving out a sky-high price. Many old monsters were stunned. They didn't expect the great elder of the treasure pavilion to be so bold. 500,000 pure yang dan was almost more than the value of the white jade longevity scorpion. It was enough to buy a supreme being pill. However, This was a treasure that could increase one's lifespan. It couldn't be measured with an ordinary price. Everyone, if little friend Ling Xiao sells the white jade longevity scorpion to this old man, after this old man finds an alchemy grandmaster to refine the white jade longevity scorpion pill, we will auction it 3 days later. What do you think? The great elder of the treasure pavilion said with a smile. Chapter 504. Seeing that all the old monsters had agreed, Ling Xiao naturally had no objections. He sold the white jade longevity scorpion to the great elder of the precious treasure pavilion. Chun Yang's face instantly turned ugly. He felt that Ling Xiao was more and more unfathomable. Even if the great young master of the Nantian family came, could he really surpass Ling Xiao with his purple chi psychic technique? This time, even Chun Yang was a little hesitant. Continue. Ling Xiao, empty all the ancient stones in the Heavenly King's palace. The old goat and Taoist Wuliang were completely boiling. Their eyes were shining with excitement. This was a business without any cost. Ling Xiao could earn hundreds of thousands of pure yang pills by selling all the treasures in the Heavenly King's palace to these old monsters. However, it seemed easy. If he spent hundreds of thousands of pure yang pills and got nothing, it would be a total loss. In the end, Ling Xiao had the confidence to do so. Okay, continue. Ling Xiao looked at Chun Yang with a faint smile. He was very confident now. Even if the assassin wasn't sent by Chun Yang, he definitely had something to do with him. In addition to the pure yang pills on Ling Xiao, he had more than 700,000 pure yang pills. This time he didn't hold back and directly chose 5 ancient stones. These 5 ancient stones weren't big. The biggest one was only half the height of a person, and the smallest one was the size of a fist. Adding them up, Ling Xiao spent all of his 700,000 pure yang pills. 5 ancient stones at a time? Young friend Ling is really daring. Even the great elder of the precious treasure pavilion was shocked by Ling Xiao's daring. Young friend Ling, continue. It's best if you can get more treasures that can increase your lifespan. Young friend Ling, as long as it's treasures you cut, we'll take as many as you have. The old monsters also began to clamor, looking forward to seeing how many miracles Ling Xiao could create. The first ancient stone was quickly cut open. This is longevity grass. Another treasure that can increase my lifespan. An old monster exclaimed. His eyes were filled with excitement. The life wheel grass was a divine herb that could extend one's lifespan by at least 1,000 years. Although the life wheel grass that Ling Xiao cut out had been sealed for a very long time, it could still extend one's lifespan by at least 300 years. Very soon, the life wheel grass was bought by an old monster for 500,000 pure yang pills. Don't tell me that the remaining 4 ancient stones also contain treasures that can increase one's lifespan? Those old monsters looked at each other, revealing an incomparably crazy thought. Sure enough, Ling Xiao cut open the remaining 4 ancient stones in one go. Inside, multicolored light was dense, and the aura of treasures filled the air. They actually all contained supreme treasures. A 60-year Dao Core, Dao Soul Lotus, Tianyuan Spirit Turtle, Longevity Bamboo. These 4 treasures all had the miraculous effect of increasing one's lifespan. The 60-year Dao Pill was a peerless Dao Pill, a spirit pill from the ancient era that had long been lost. It could increase one's lifespan by 1060 years to 600 years. The Dao Soul Lotus could nurture the soul. It was a supreme divine medicine that could seize life from the heavens and increase one's lifespan by 500 years. The Tianyuan Spirit Turtle was an ancient spirit insect. Like the white jade longevity scorpion, it could be refined into a Tianyuan Dao Pill. One Tianyuan Dao Pill could increase one's lifespan by 660 years. The longevity bamboo was the most precious. It was an undamaged supreme divine medicine that was even more precious than the Dao Soul Lotus. It could increase one's lifespan by 1,000 years. All the old monsters were dumbfounded. Their eyes were filled with incomparable excitement. They were about to go crazy. As for Chun Yang, his face was as ugly as if his parents had died. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He did not dare to believe that the 5 ancient stones that Ling Xiao had chosen were all supreme treasures that could increase one's lifespan. Could this young man really see through the ancient stones? If this was the case, wouldn't all the ancient stones that contain treasures in the Heavenly King Palace be taken away by Ling Xiao? Young friend Ling, I want the Tao Soul Lotus. I'll pay 500,000 pure yang pills. The Tianyuan Spirit Turtle is mine. I'll pay 800,000 pure yang pills. None of you are allowed to fight with me for the longevity bamboo. I'll pay 1 million pure yang pills. The old monsters went crazy. They shouted their bids with all their might. Their eyes were filled with fervor. To them, supreme treasures that could increase one's lifespan were like a new life. They could live another life and have a chance to climb to the peak of martial arts. With these supreme treasures that could increase one's lifespan, these old monsters might not be able to break through to the venerable state, but at least there was hope, was there not? Everyone, don't worry. I've said that all the treasures that are cut out today will be sold. Ling Xiao smiled. Ahaha. All of you, come to me to hand over your pure yang pills. That dark-faced old man, you've made the highest bid. The Tao Soul Lotus is yours. The old goat beamed with joy. His eyes were filled with excitement. The dark-faced old man that the old goat mentioned was infuriated by the old goat. However, when he heard the old goat's next words, he immediately became excited. He hurriedly ran over and handed 900,000 pure yang pills to the old goat. Then he directly grabbed the Tao Soul Lotus and swallowed it. The dark-faced old man was only a 9th-level ruler. He was afraid that the Tao Soul Lotus would be snatched away by others, so he directly swallowed it. Buzz. The dark-faced old man's body surged with divine light and green light. A powerful vitality burst out. His white hair began to turn black, and his blood qi began to flow. It was incomparably majestic. In the end, the dark-faced old man turned into a dark-faced middle-aged man at a speed visible to the naked eye. It was as if a mysterious power had awakened in his body, allowing him to break through to half-step to the venerable state in an instant. Or rather, returning to half-step to the venerable state, and gaining 500 years of lifespan out of thin air made the dark-faced man extremely excited. Young friend Ling, I, Xiong Laohe, owe you a favor. In the future, as long as it's within my ability, I won't refuse to help you. The dark-faced man bowed deeply at Ling Xiao and said excitedly. Ling Xiao could tell that the dark-faced man's original form was a black bear spirit. His blood qi had dried up, and his cultivation had regressed. Now that he had consumed the Tao Soul Lotus, he had almost returned to his peak state. Elder Xiong, there's no need to be so polite. Ling Xiao said with a smile. When the remaining old monsters saw the changes in Xiong Laohe, they all became even crazier. In the end, the 60-year Tao core was snatched by a white-robed old man for a sky-high price of 1 million pure yang pills. After consuming it, he also turned into a white-robed, white-haired middle-aged man. His face was heroic, and his eyes were like stars. Sword intent filled his body, and his sharpness was unparalleled. He had also returned to half-step to the venerable state. This was a sword cultivator named Jian Bumi. He was actually an elder of the Sword God Pavilion. He also expressed his deep gratitude to Ling Xiao. The Tianyuan Spirit Turtle was obtained by an elder of the Walkabout sect. He bid 1 million pure yang pills to refine it into the Tianyuan Tao core. The competition for the longevity bamboo was the most intense because it could increase one's lifespan by 1,000 years. After many rounds of bidding, it was obtained by an ancient monk wearing a kasaya with a Buddhist light behind his head. He bid 2,300,000 pure yang pills. After the ancient monk consumed the longevity bamboo, he actually turned into a handsome young monk. He wore a white robe and a brocade kasaya. He held a Buddhist staff in his hand and chanted Buddhist mantras. His body was surrounded by a mysterious Buddhist light, and a resplendent light appeared between his eyebrows. Chapter 505. Benefactor Ling, I am the Dharma idol of the Great Lane Temple. Thank you for the treasures. If you have time, please visit the Great Lane Temple. Benefactor Ling has the root of wisdom, and is fated with Buddhism. The ancient monk smiled faintly at Ling Xiao. Thank you, Great Master. I will definitely visit the Great Lane Temple when I have time. Ling Xiao was a little surprised. He did not expect the Great Lane Temple to appear. The Great Lane Temple was extremely mysterious. It was said that they were not much weaker than the War God Temple. Buddhist emperors were called arhats, supremes were called bodhisattvas, and supremes were called Buddhas. It was said that the Great Lane Temple had 500 arhats, 18 bodhisattvas and 3 Buddhas. Their strength was unfathomable. In comparison, one of the 2 temples, Mingwang Temple, would often appear in the War God continent to preach, while the Great Lane Temple was rarely seen. The treasures from the 5 ancient stones were worth a whopping 5.7 million pure yang pills for Ling Xiao. The pure yang pills in the storage ring had become a river of pure yang pills. The old goat and Taoist Wuliang were grinning from ear to ear. Chun Yang's face turned even uglier. He felt like his heart was bleeding. Although there were many ancient stones in the Heavenly King Palace, there weren't many that contained treasures. Many of the ancient stones seemed to be filled with Tao intent and intertwined with the laws. It was very likely that there would be nothing left after being cut. If Ling Xiao really had the ability to see through the ancient stones and cut out all the treasures, the Southern Sky Temple would be surpassed by the Precious Treasure Pavilion. Without the Heavenly King Palace, the Southern Sky Temple would lose a huge trump card. Even the old man in the Heavenly King Palace was startled by Ling Xiao's continuous cutting of treasures. His eyes were filled with tricolored divine light as he looked at Ling Xiao indifferently. Ling Xiao's body trembled. He felt like his soul was being frozen. He coldly looked at the old man. This old man was unfathomable. Even among the half-step supremes, he was considered a top-notch expert. Ling Xiao clearly saw a trace of coldness and warning in his eyes. Ling Xiao did not have the slightest fear in his heart. Instead, he felt a kind of madness. He indifferently looked at Qin Yang and said, "I still want to choose ancient stones. These 5.7 million pure yang pills are all yours." What? Ling Xiao's decision caused many old monsters, including the old goat and Taoist Wuliang, to tremble. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. With 5.7 million pure yang pills, other than the goddess stone, he could probably buy more than 20 ancient stones. Was Ling Xiao really planning to empty the Heavenly King Palace of all the treasures? Young friendling, well done. I support you. Ha ha ha. It would be best if you can take all the treasures of the Southern Sky Temple today. I support you. Many of the old monsters were eager to see the world in chaos. They laughed loudly, especially Xiong Laohe and Jian Bumi, who expressed their support for Ling Xiao. Yang Chen's face twitched. The anger in his eyes seemed to be about to spurt out. "Martial uncle, what should we do?" Chun Yang stood in front of the white-haired old man and said bitterly. "It doesn't matter, let him choose. I want him to spit out whatever he has eaten from my Nantian family." The old man looked deeply at Ling Xiao. His eyes were filled with coldness. With a wave of his hand, he kept all the pure yang pills and closed his eyes again. "Ling Xiao, that old man is very powerful. I'm afraid that even the great elder of the Precious Treasure Pavilion and Granny Gui together are no match for him. You have to be careful." The old goat transmitted his voice to Ling Xiao. "I just passed the tribulation of 2 elephants. Since I've already offended him, what's there to be afraid of? The treasures in the Heavenly King Palace today are mine." Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a trace of coldness as he spoke slowly. "All right. Let's fight it out with them. Young friend, don't worry. I'll kill whoever dares to touch you first." Taoist Wuliang said heroically. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. He ignored Yang Chen and the old man's expressions and continued to choose ancient stones. Ling Xiao walked around the Heavenly King Palace and chose the 5 ancient stones that caused the wordless Heavenly Book to react the most strongly. These 5 ancient stones looked extraordinary. Tao intent intertwined and dazzled. Each ancient stone was worth millions of pure yang pills, which was enough for Ling Xiao to spend all of his 5.7 million pure yang pills. Young friend, these 5 ancient stones don't look ordinary. However, when it comes to gambling on stones, one cut is life and one cut is death. They may contain precious treasures, but they may also contain nothing. Are you sure you want to cut them open here? The great elder of the Precious Treasure Pavilion smiled faintly. Ling Xiao nodded and said, "That's right. I'll cut them open here." Ling Xiao's eyes shone brightly. He could feel that the treasures in these 5 ancient stones should be the most precious items in the entire Heavenly King Palace. In other words, they should be the most precious ancient stone apart from the Goddess Stone. This was because the Goddess Stone had the strongest reaction to the wordless Heavenly Book. However, the Goddess Stone was too expensive. The astronomical price of 30 million pure yang pills made Ling Xiao sigh. Ling Xiao naturally wouldn't let go of such a good opportunity to attack the Nantian family. Hold on. At this moment, the door of the Heavenly King Palace was pushed open. An indifferent and cold voice was heard. A few young men with imposing appearances walked in from outside the Heavenly King Palace. They looked extraordinary and exuded a powerful aura as they walked in. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. The Nantian sword, the ravenous wolf Starchild, and the second prince were among them. In the middle of them was a young man in a purple robe. He had a handsome figure. He looked to be in his 20s. His body was strong and his skin was crystal clear. His face was very handsome. In his bright eyes, there seemed to be the scene of the rising sun. Purple clouds filled the air, and he looked mysterious. His body was shrouded in purple clouds. As he stood there, he looked like a heavenly emperor who was out on patrol. He had a peerless aura that made others feel inferior. Even the ravenous wolf Starchild, who was also a peerless genius, was slightly inferior to this young man. South Celestial Venerable. The great elder of the Precious Treasure Pavilion's eyes shone brightly as he revealed the young man's identity. Kid, the South Celestial Venerable is the #1 genius of the Nantian family. He condensed the Celestial Venerable Dharma idol with 81 great abilities. His strength is unfathomable, and he can be considered as invincible among his peers. Moreover, he specializes in the purple cloud spiritual technique, and can see through all fabrications. You have to be careful. Granny Gui transmitted her voice to Ling Xiao. Her voice was solemn. South Celestial Venerable? A mere monarch realm kid dares to call himself a Celestial Venerable? What arrogance! The old goat's eyes revealed a trace of displeasure. This kid is very strong. That pair of eyes of his are very powerful. Taoist Wuyang also said slowly. The South Celestial Venerable's eyes were filled with purple clouds. They were indifferent and cold. It was a kind of indifference that looked down on everyone as if they were ants. Mysterious laws intertwined as if he could see through everything. Ling Xiao, do you dare to make a bet with us? My elder brother is a peerless genius of the War God continent. His purple cloud spiritual technique is unparalleled in the world. It's not something your lousy stone gambling skills can compare to. If you're afraid, kneel down and kowtow to apologize. Chapter 506. Ling Xiao squinted his eyes and glanced at South Celestial Venerable. How do you want to bet? In Ling Xiao's previous life, he had never heard of the Purple Cloud Spirit Communication Art. Rumor has it that this Purple Cloud Spirit Communication Art was a supreme technique accidentally obtained by the Nantian clan. It was extremely terrifying and Ling Xiao could feel the extraordinariness of South Celestial Venerable's eyes. This Purple Cloud Spirit Communication Art was probably on par with Ling Xiao's Heavenly Star God eyes. South Celestial Venerable looked at Ling Xiao indifferently. The purple cloud in his eyes made him seem indifferent. It was as if a mysterious light beam shot out and wanted to see through Ling Xiao. Stone gambling. South Celestial Venerable said indifferently. There was a slight ripple in his eyes as he realized that he couldn't see through Ling Xiao. Let's make a bet. If you win, this goddess stone is yours. As soon as South Celestial Venerable said that, everyone took a deep breath. The goddess stone was the treasure of the Heavenly King Hall. It wasn't an exaggeration to call it the treasure of the South Sky Temple. It was worth 30 million pure yang pills. In other words, if Ling Xiao defeated South Celestial Venerable, he would immediately get the goddess stone worth 30 million pure yang pills. If the goddess stone really contained a supreme treasure, it would definitely be worth more than 30 million pure yang pills. There was even a legend that the goddess stone and the most mysterious heavenly god stone in Heavenly God City were excavated together. Even the Precious Treasure Pavilion didn't have such a precious stone. Goddess stone. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He couldn't see through the goddess stone at all, as if it was covered by a layer of fog. However, the wordless heavenly book's reaction was very intense. If you lose, I will accept your slave seal. You will be my slave for 10 years. After 10 years, I will give you back your freedom. South Celestial Venerable's eyes had a hint of hidden passion. He looked at Ling Xiao as if he was looking at a supreme treasure. Ling Xiao didn't like that gaze. Implant a slave mark and become a slave for 10 years? Many old monsters were stunned. They thought South Celestial Venerable wanted Ling Xiao's life. They didn't expect him to only be a slave for 10 years. It seemed like he wanted to let Ling Xiao go. 10 years? Who do you think you are? If I win, I'll give you a broken stone. If I lose, I'll be your slave for 10 years. You really have a good plan. The old goat couldn't hold it in any longer, and sneered at South Celestial Venerable. Who was Ling Xiao? How could the number one supreme 10,000 years ago be a slave to Celestial Venerable Nan? Although 30 million pure yang pills was precious, how could it compare to Ling Xiao's status? That's right. At the very least, if you lose, you'll be a slave for 10 years. Daoist Wu Yang sneered. In other people's eyes, this bet might be fair, but with the slave imprint planted in him, he would be a slave for 10 years. This meant that all of Ling Xiao's secrets would be known by Celestial Venerable South. What kind of bet? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed, but he didn't refuse immediately. You and I will each find an ancient stone in Heavenly God City. We have one day. Right now, we are in Precious Treasure Pavilion's Heaven-Grade Stone Garden. We will cut open the ancient stones in front of everyone. Whoever finds the most valuable ancient stone will be the winner. South Celestial Venerable faintly glanced at Ling Xiao. His voice was very calm, and had a very confident attitude. Looking for an ancient stone in Heavenly God City? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. This stone gambling method seemed fair, but the Nantian family was a stone gambling family. Other than the goddess stone, there were probably many other precious ancient stones. If Ling Xiao were to search aimlessly for one day, it would be like searching for a needle in a haystack. In addition, South Celestial Venerable cultivated the purple chi spiritual art. It would be very difficult to win against him. However, Ling Xiao really wanted to gamble because he could faintly feel that the item in the goddess stone was very impressive. It might be very useful to him. You want to bet with me? Sure. However, a mere goddess stone isn't enough to exchange for 10 years of servitude. Ling Xiao glanced at South Celestial Venerable and sneered. Then what do you want? South Celestial Venerable frowned slightly. Ling Xiao said, very simple. If I win, other than the goddess stone, I want the purple chi spiritual art. What? Don't even think about it. South Sky Sword's expression changed as he blurted out with a trace of anger in his voice. The purple aura communication technique could be said to be one of the most precious secret techniques of the Nantian family. The Nantian sword was very clear about the price they had to pay to obtain this secret technique. It was very difficult for him to accept the purple aura communication technique. The purple chi spiritual art wasn't as simple as a supreme divine art. It even involved the secret of becoming a supreme and cultivating divine power. Brat, you're really delusional. You're not even satisfied with a goddess stone, and want the purple chi spiritual art of the Nantian family? I'm afraid you won't be able to take it even if you have the life to take it. Chen Yang looked coldly at Ling Xiao, his voice extremely chilling. If you agree, then let's bet. If you don't, then don't disturb me from cutting the ancient stone. Ling Xiao smiled faintly with a very calm expression. The reason why Ling Xiao wanted the purple chi psychic art was because he had a sudden idea. He could vaguely feel that this purple chi psychic art was extraordinary. It contained ancient intent and the great Tao law. Since the Nantian family valued this secret art so much, he naturally had to obtain it. South Celestial Venerable remained silent for a moment, before finally nodding. All right, I agree. South Celestial Venerable's position in the Nantian family was clearly not ordinary. After he agreed, even if Chen Yang and South Sky Sword were dissatisfied, they didn't say anything. If that's the case, then let's swear to the heavenly Tao. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. South Celestial Venerable used the name of the Nantian family, and Ling Xiao used his own name to swear to the heavenly Tao. This meant that the bet had officially begun. Everyone became excited. This was a huge bet involving the goddess stone, which was worth 30 million pure yang pills, and the Nantian family's purple chi spiritual art. Even those old monsters were looking forward to this stone gambling. South Celestial Venerable was known as the #1 genius of the Nantian family in 1,000 years. He was the only peerless monster who had cultivated the purple chi spiritual art to perfection. He was known to be able to see through illusions and see through heaven and earth. His few stone gambling experiences had all caused a huge commotion. As for Ling Xiao, although this youth was only a rogue cultivator, every time he gambled, he would be able to cut out a supreme treasure. He definitely had supreme stone gambling skills, which made everyone look forward to it. This duel caused a stir in the entire Heavenly God City, almost overshadowing the limelight of the Heavenly God Conference. However, everyone believed that South Celestial Venerable had a higher chance of winning. After all, the purple chi spiritual art was world famous, and the Nantian family had many precious ancient stones in their collection. Aside from the goddess stone, there were many other ancient stones. It would be very difficult for Ling Xiao to find an ancient stone that he could win in a day. Seniors, since this junior wants to participate in this gamble, I need a large amount of pure yang pills. Why don't I cut out all 5 ancient stones? If there are any treasures that you want, I'll sell them to you seniors. Ling Xiao agreed to this stone gambling, but he didn't forget about the 5 ancient stones he had just chosen. He smiled at the crowd. Ha! Little brother, don't worry. We still have many pure yang pills. Whatever you cut out will definitely be a supreme treasure. Even if they don't want it, I'll take it. Xiong Laohe was the first to respond, laughing loudly. Count me in. Jian Bummy also agreed. Little friend Ling, don't worry. No matter how many treasures you cut out, our Precious Treasures Pavilion will take them all. The great elder of the Precious Treasures Pavilion also said with a smile. Nantian Sword and Chen Yang's expressions turned ugly. They didn't expect Ling Xiao to be so calm after agreeing to the gamble. He actually continued to cut out the ancient stones. If he really cut out a treasure, it would be a slap to the Nantian family's face. South Celestial Venerable glanced at Ling Xiao indifferently. He wasn't angry and his expression was still indifferent. However, a strange light flickered in his eyes, burning with anticipation. Chapter 507. Without any hesitation, Ling Xiao slowly cut open the 5 ancient stones that he had chosen. Buzz. Within the ancient stones, Tao intent filled the air. The mysterious power of laws intertwined with each other, like 5 pillars of divine light shooting up into the sky. The entire Sky King Palace was dazzling and mysterious. There were really 5 supreme treasures within the 5 ancient stones. A green lotus with a chaotic luster floated in the void, shrouded in a faint auspicious aura. A piece of black metal with Qilin patterns on it. It was the size of a fist and incomparably dazzling. The remaining 3 spiritual fruits were purple, golden, and silver respectively. Although they were cut from the 3 ancient stones, they seemed to have originated from the same source. There was a mysterious aura intertwining between them. Great Tao Green Lotus, Qilin Treasure Metal, Purple Sunfruit, Golden Sunfruit, and Silver Sunfruit. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he recognized the origins of these 5 supreme treasures. The Great Tao Green Lotus was a supreme sacred medicine. The Great Tao Green Lotus seeds could be used to refine the Great Tao Supreme Pill, allowing Supreme Being experts to break through their cultivation. It was incomparably precious. The Qilin treasure metal was said to have nurtured the blood of the Qilin divine spirit. It could even be used to refine supreme divine weapons. It was one of the top treasured metals in the War God continent. The violet sunfruit, gold sunfruit, and silver sunfruit caused these old monsters to become excited. This was because these 3 spirit fruits were all supreme divine medicines. They were the fruits of the legendary Fusang God tree, a primordial spiritual root. They could refine a pure young primordial spirit, and at the same time extend one's lifespan by 1,000 years. One had to know that to become a supreme being, refining a pure young yuan spirit was one of the most difficult stages. Many half-step supreme beings were stuck at this stage. The old monsters also recognized the origins of these 5 supreme treasures. especially the purple sun fruit, golden sun fruit, and silver sun fruit. Their breathing quickened, and their eyes were filled with excitement. These 3 spiritual fruits were even more precious than the 1,000-life bamboo that Ling Xiao had cut out. How could these old monsters not go crazy? The great Tao green lotus was also very precious. It could even be said to be the most precious of these 5 treasures. The great Tao supreme pill had a chance of transforming one's physical body, allowing one to possess the great Tao body. That was also one of the top supreme being physiques in the war god continent. Moreover, the Grand Tao Green Lotus could also extend one's lifespan by 500 years. A Grand Tao Green Lotus would be very beneficial for a half-step supremacy to overcome the 1 divine image tribulation and the 2 divine image tribulation. Purple sun fruit, gold sun fruit, and silver sun fruit, this old man wants them. A passionate and excited voice rang out. The white-haired old man in the Sky King's palace could no longer remain calm. He opened his eyes. They shone brightly and were filled with great excitement. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. This old man had already passed the 2nd divine tribulation. If he could get his hands on these 3 spiritual fruits, he would definitely be able to pass through the 3rd divine tribulation. Amongst the half-step supremes, he could be considered as one of the strongest. No wonder he was so agitated. I presume there's no need for me to explain the value of these 5 treasures. Everyone, please make your bids. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and ignored the old man. He spoke to the group of old monsters in front of him. Brat, I said I want these 3 spirit fruits. Don't tell me you didn't hear me? The white-haired old man's eyes turned cold as he looked at Ling Xiao coldly. My apologies, these 3 spiritual fruits were cut by me. I can sell them to whoever I want. Therefore, I'm not willing to sell them to you. Are you going to bite me? Ling Xiao smiled faintly as if he didn't see the coldness in the old man's eyes. That's right. Old man, are you going to snatch them by force? With so many people here, if you dare to make a move, your Nantian family can be removed from the war god continent. The old goat sneered. He was very unhappy with the white-haired old man's bossy attitude. Ah, little friend Ling is right. These 3 spiritual fruits are ours. Whoever dares to snatch them will be our enemy. The group of old monsters sneered and expressed their firm support for Ling Xiao. What a joke. The purple sun fruit, gold sun fruit, and silver sun fruit could not only refine a pure yang primordial spirit, but also extend one's lifespan by 1,000 years. It could be said that these old monsters valued them the most. If anyone dared to snatch them, these old monsters would fight with their lives on the line. So what if this white-haired old man had already passed the 2nd divine tribulation? With so many old monsters working together, they could easily toy with him to death. Good. Ling Xiao, if that's the case, this old man will remember you. The white-haired old man was so angry that he laughed. He looked deeply at Ling Xiao, his eyes filled with murderous intent. South Sky Sword, Chen Yang, and the others also glared at Ling Xiao, their eyes filled with cold murderous intent. Only South Celestial Venerable looked at Ling Xiao with interest. It was as if nothing could affect his mood. The 2nd prince and the greedy wolf Starchild were overjoyed. This white-haired old man was called Nan Tianqi. He was one of the strongest experts of the Nantian family in Heavenly God City. Since Ling Xiao had offended Nan Tianqi, it meant that there was no more reconciliation between Ling Xiao and the Nantian family. The 2nd prince even thought that Nan Tianqi would suddenly go berserk and kill Ling Xiao to vent his anger. Unfortunately, Nan Tianqi only looked at Ling Xiao coldly before closing his eyes again. Little friend Ling, I'll pay 2 million pure yang pills for the purple sun fruit. Xiong Laohe couldn't bear it anymore and jumped out. Xiong Laohe, you already have the Tao Soul Lotus. Why are you still fighting with us for the 3 spiritual fruits? The old monsters glared at Xiong Laohe. Hee, no one would think that 3 spiritual fruits are too little. I'm rich. If you have the ability, then bid. Xiong Laohe sneered. I'll pay 2,300,000 pure yang pills. 2,600,000. I want the great Tao Green Lotus. I'll pay 3 million pure yang pills. The appearance of these 5 supreme treasures caused the old monsters to start bidding crazily. A half-step martial saint was still worth a few million pure yang pills. But if that was the case, a single violet sun fruit would probably deplete all of their wealth. The competition between the old monsters made the old goat and Taoist Wuliang even more excited. It was as if they could see countless pure yang pills being thrown at them. In the end, after an intense bidding war, the 5 supreme treasures were all sold by Ling Xiao except for the Qilin treasure gold. The great Dao Green Lotus was bought by the great elder of the precious treasure pavilion. He actually offered a sky-high price of 5 million pure yang pills. As for the purple sun fruit, gold sun fruit, and silver sun fruit, they were all snatched up by the 3 old monsters. Each of them was sold for a sky-high price of 3 million pure yang pills. In the end, except for the Qilin treasure gold in Ling Xiao's hands, the 4 supreme treasures were sold for a total of 14 million pure yang pills. South Sky Sword Chen Yang and the others' faces turned green. Their hearts were bleeding. Chapter 508. Little friend Ling, how about selling the Qilin treasure metal to me? This old man offers 3 million pure yang pills. The great elder of the precious treasure pavilion coveted the Qilin treasure metal in Ling Xiao's hands. 3 million pure yang pills was enough to buy a supreme weapon. However, supreme weapons were priceless, and most people wouldn't sell them. Its actual value would definitely be much higher. No need, I still have use for this Qilin treasure metal. Ling Xiao smiled and rejected the offer. The heaven-devouring sword was heavily damaged after the calamity 10,000 years ago. Ling Xiao was prepared to refine the heaven-devouring sword once he regained his cultivation from his previous life. The Qilin treasure metal was indeed a supreme divine material. It was incomparably precious and was a supreme treasure for refining legendary divine weapons. Ling Xiao naturally wouldn't sell it just like that. The great elder of the precious treasure pavilion's eyes were filled with pity. However, he had gained enough today. Moreover, he had dealt a heavy blow to the southern sky house, leaving him with a satisfied smile. The old goat and Taoist Wuliang were grinning from ear to ear, looking at the river of pure yang pills in their storage rings. Their eyes lit up and their saliva flowed out. Although Nan Tianqi looked calm, the corners of his mouth were twitching slightly. One could see the depression and anger in his heart. The 3 old monsters also knew how precious the purple sun fruit, golden sun fruit, and silver sun fruit were, so they directly swallowed them in the Heavenly King Palace. The effect was obvious. Amidst the resplendent light, they recovered their youthful appearance and their cultivation returned to the half-step Supreme Being realm. The 3 old monsters expressed their gratitude to Ling Xiao. After all, the purple sun fruit, gold sun fruit, and silver sun fruit were incomparably precious. If Ling Xiao were to auction them off, the price would only be higher. Moreover, they would definitely be snatched away by those martial Dao holy lands, and might not fall into their hands. Let's go. Ling Xiao smiled at the old goat, Taoist Wuliang, and the moon deity. He had gained a lot this time, so he was prepared to leave the southern sky house. 14 million pure yang pills could be considered as Ling Xiao venting his anger. Moreover, he had more important things to do next. That was to choose an ancient stone and have a shocking gamble with South Celestial Venerable. Little friend Ling, there are many precious ancient stones in the precious treasure pavilion's Heaven Stone Garden. Do you want to take a look? The precious treasure pavilion's great elder said enthusiastically. All right. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and left the southern sky chamber with the great elder of the precious treasure pavilion. It was as if he did not see the murderous gazes of Southern Sky Sword and Chen Yang. Big brother, you must win against this brat tomorrow. When he becomes Big Brother's slave, I will torture him until he begs for death. Southern Sky Sword said fiercely. His eyes were filled with coldness. Don't worry, he can't win. South Celestial Venerable smiled faintly, his eyes filled with confidence. That's right, he can't win. Chen Yang also said coldly, your big brother's purple chi psychic art has already reached perfection. Although those ancient stones in the heaven-level stone garden of the treasure pavilion are precious, they are nothing compared to the one in our Nantian family. South Sky Sword was stunned. He immediately realized that South Celestial Venerable dared to propose this bet, because he was absolutely confident. South Celestial Venerable, had already seen the entire heavenly god city. He knew all the ancient stones in the heaven-grade stone garden very well. If Ling Xiao dared to choose an ancient stone in the heaven-grade stone garden, he would definitely lose. I wish Brother Nantian a victory tomorrow. We will definitely go and see Ling Xiao's face when he loses. It will definitely be interesting. Second Prince said faintly. Greedy Wolf Star Child nodded and said, "That's right. This brat dared to kill the people of the Star Palace. He deserves to die. However, if he becomes Brother Nanshan's slave, I'm afraid it will be worse than killing him." South Celestial Venerable smiled faintly and muttered in a voice that only he could hear. Ling Xiao, I hope that the item on you won't disappoint me." After Ling Xiao left the southern sky chamber, the old monsters all expressed that they would support Ling Xiao the next day. After saying that, they bade farewell in a hurry. They still needed to refine the treasure that they had obtained from Ling Xiao to break through. Ling Xiao followed the great elder of the treasure pavilion to the heaven-grade stone garden of the treasure pavilion. In the heaven-grade stone garden, there were more than 2,000 ancient stones. They were placed in the garden that was filled with glowing lights and auspicious air. They were of different shapes and every single one of them was extremely precious. However, from Ling Xiao's point of view, the ancient stones were slightly inferior to the ones in the King of Heaven Hall. Ling Xiao also guessed South Celestial Venerable's thoughts. Since Purple Cloud's spiritual skill was so terrifying, South Celestial Venerable probably knew the ancient stones in the heaven-grade stone garden like the back of his hand. If Ling Xiao were to choose an ancient stone in the heaven-grade stone garden, he would definitely lose. The reason why Ling Xiao wanted to take a look was to understand the sensitivity of the wordless heavenly book, so that he could determine the preciousness of the treasure in the ancient stone. The reason why Ling Xiao dared to gamble with South Celestial Venerable was because the wordless heavenly book told Ling Xiao that in the Heaven God City, other than the most precious Heaven God stone, there was another extremely precious ancient stone. The wordless heavenly book was so excited that it almost jumped out of Ling Xiao's consciousness. What do you think of these ancient stones? The great elder of the treasure pavilion looked at Ling Xiao with anticipation. Not bad. But since we have a day, I'm going to try my luck at the various gambling dens and see if I can find other ancient stones. Ling Xiao said with a smile. Good. I believe that the final winner will be young friend Ling. However, young friend Ling, you must be careful. That old man Nantianchi is narrow-minded. Although he won't dare to act rashly in Heaven God City, you must still be prepared. The great elder of the treasure pavilion warned. When he mentioned Nantianchi, his expression turned serious. Many thanks, great elder. I will be careful. Ling Xiao smiled faintly, a sharp glint flashing in his eyes. If that old fart dares to touch young friend Ling, this old woman will kill him first. Granny Gui sneered. Ling Xiao and the others left the precious treasures pavilion and wandered aimlessly around Heavenly God City. They went to many gambling shops, and Ling Xiao also looked at many ancient stones. As time passed, he didn't look worried at all. Ling Xiao, the sky is dark. Half the time has passed. If you still can't find an ancient stone, we will lose. The old goat couldn't help but remind him, a trace of worry in his eyes. It stopped. All right, let's go. Ling Xiao smiled. He saw a direction in the west of Heaven God City and walked in that direction. What stopped? Ling Xiao, don't keep me in suspense. Do you know some peerless ancient stone? Tell me quickly. The old goat chased after him, unwilling to give up. I'm not sure. Let's go take a look first. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. The reason why he had spun around for a few hours was because he had felt that the ancient stone that the wordless heavenly book had sensed was actually moving. It was sometimes far and sometimes close, sometimes fast and sometimes slow. Just now it had finally stopped. Ling Xiao guessed that Gusher must have been brought around by someone, which was why he was like this. He was also very curious. What kind of ancient stone could make the wordless heavenly book so excited? The old goat, Taoist Wuliang, and Moon Goddess saw that Ling Xiao was unwilling to say more and didn't ask. They followed Ling Xiao to the west of the city and stopped in front of an ordinary courtyard house. It's him. Chapter 509. The sky was dark. A skinny old man in a shabby Taoist robe was sitting in the courtyard. He looked very sloppy. He held a pipe in his hand, and smoke rose in spirals. The flickering smoke illuminated his old face. Ling Xiao was surprised because this skinny old man was the same old man who had set up a stall to sell soul-breaking stones when he first entered Heavenly God City. "You're here?" The skinny old man glanced at Ling Xiao indifferently. His turbid eyes flashed as if he wasn't surprised that Ling Xiao would come. "You knew I would come here?" Ling Xiao was slightly surprised. The skinny old man slowly said, "Come in and talk." Ling Xiao, the old goat, and the others walked into the courtyard. This was a very ordinary-looking courtyard. Smoke rose from the kitchen, and a girl who looked to be about 8 or 9 years old with a face covered in dust poured rice into a pot. She struggled to light the fire and cook. Soon, a faint fragrance of rice wafted through the air. "Young man, I want to talk to you alone. How about it?" The skinny old man glanced at Ling Xiao and said indifferently, "Okay." Ling Xiao looked deeply at the skinny old man. He didn't sense any malice from him, and this old man gave him a very familiar feeling. "Ling Xiao, this old man isn't simple. Be careful. We'll wait for you outside." Taoist Wuliang glanced at the skinny old man with some fear, and said slowly, "Don't worry." Ling Xiao gave them a reassuring look. Although the old goat, the moon goddess, and the others didn't know why Ling Xiao had come to this small courtyard, they didn't ask and went outside. With a wave of the old man's hand, a mysterious barrier immediately enveloped the courtyard, isolating their auras and voices. "You're Ling Xiao, right? I didn't expect you to offend the Nantian family as soon as you arrived in Heavenly God City. Not bad, not bad." The skinny old man raised his head and glanced at Ling Xiao. His cold eyes contained a trace of gentleness. "Do you have a grudge against the Nantian family?" Ling Xiao's eyes moved. He could feel the anger in the skinny old man's voice when he mentioned the Nantian family. Moreover, although the old man's aura was unfathomable, Ling Xiao could still sense that the old man was heavily injured. He was like a candle in the wind, as if something was eating away at his life force. A heavily injured old man living in seclusion in Heavenly God City with an 8 or 9-year-old girl, occasionally selling soul-breaking stones. No matter how one looked at it, it was very strange. "Grudge? You're right. I have a blood feud with the Nantian family," the skinny old man said faintly. His eyes flashed with a trace of emotion, but his voice was very calm. The skinny old man smiled and changed the topic. Old man." Ling Xiao smiled faintly. He was curious about the old man's identity. "If I'm not wrong, your stone gambling skills aren't strong. You don't even know any stone gambling skills. You just have a supreme treasure that can sense ancient stones. That's why you were able to cut out a supreme treasure, right?" The old man stood up and looked at Ling Xiao as he spoke slowly. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He saw a trace of mysterious purple qi permeating the elder's turbid eyes. There were Tao laws intertwining and hidden Tao rhymes. It was exactly the same as how South Celestial Venerable looked at him, but there were some differences. "You also know the purple gas psychic technique?" Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He suddenly thought of a family on the War God continent. 10,000 years ago, on the War God continent, there was a feng shui aristocratic family called the Li clan. Every member of the Li clan was a feng shui master and specialized in the Tao of feng shui. They were incomparably mysterious. However, it was said that the feng shui masters were punished by the heavens. The strongest person in the sect was only a half-step supreme. They couldn't attain the supreme Tao. The Li family's dragon quake scripture was famous in the world. The Li family had good relations with many martial Tao sacred grounds. The Li family's feng shui masters were also treated as distinguished guests. In Ling Zhao's previous life, he had many interactions with the Li family. He once invited the Li family's feng shui masters to determine the dragon vein for the longevity mountain. He had some understanding of the Dragon Quake scripture. The Dragon Quake scripture was a supreme classic that comprehended the Tao of heaven and earth, feng shui, and the principles of yin and yang. The wonders of the purple gas psychic technique made Ling Xiao associate it with the Dragon Quake scripture. "I don't know the purple gas psychic technique, but the feng shui art of myriad phenomena." The old man said faintly with a self-mocking smile. Young man, let me tell you a story. The old man said calmly. It was as though he treated Ling Xiao as an old friend. He didn't put his guard up and started to tell the story slowly. 2,000 years ago, Li Chunfeng and Nan Tianjue were good friends. The two of them comprehended the secrets of martial Tao together. They wanted to unravel the biggest secret of becoming a true god. Li Chunfeng used his family's supreme secret technique to comprehend two great secret techniques. If he used the supreme secret technique together, he would be able to break through the peak of martial Tao and become a true god. He would obtain eternal life. Li Chunfeng didn't hold anything back from Nan Tianjue. He even imparted the supreme secret technique to him. However, Nan Tianjue wanted to take the supreme secret technique and the two great secret techniques for himself. He wanted to kill Li Chunfeng and steal the secret techniques. Nan Tianjue's cultivation was very strong. He was so strong that Li Chunfeng was no match for him. Furthermore, Li Chunfeng didn't expect Nan Tianjue to attack him. In the end, one of the two great secret techniques was stolen by Nan Tianjue. Nan Tianjue even slaughtered Li Chunfeng's family in a frenzy. After that, Li Chunfeng faked his death to escape. However, Nan Tianjue didn't give up on finding the other great secret technique even after countless years. This was because only by combining the two great secret techniques together with the supreme secret technique of Li Chunfeng's family could the secret of becoming a true god be unraveled. Therefore, the Li family was mercilessly suppressed by Nan Tianjue. Many of their family members were captured and had their souls extracted. All of this was to find the whereabouts of the other great secret technique. The skinny old man said slowly. His voice was very calm, but Ling Xiao could see a trace of sadness and anger in the old man's eyes. After the skinny old man finished speaking, Ling Xiao sighed softly and said, "The Nan Tianjue that you mentioned should be the current family head of the Nantian family, and also the grandfather of Celestial Venerable Nan Tianjue? And Li Chunfeng is you, old man. I didn't expect that the Li family, a feng shui family with a long history, would also suffer such a calamity." Ling Xiao sighed. In his previous life, he had interacted with the Li family many times. The Li family had also sent a feng shui grandmaster to participate in the design of the longevity sex dragon vein. It could be said that the entire 8 Desolates region was the work of the Li family. Chapter 510. You even know about the Li family? The skinny old man looked at Ling Xiao in surprise. After so many years, the Li family had almost become history. Other than the sacred grounds of martial arts, very few people knew about the Li family. The Li family's Dragon Quake scripture is famous. I heard that the Li family had a close relationship with Sky-devouring Supreme 10,000 years ago. However, the Li family is usually very low profile and rarely appears in the War God continent. I didn't expect the Li family to have disappeared. Ling Xiao said slowly. He guessed that the purple aura communication technique was one of the 2 secret techniques that the skinny old man was talking about. Ling Xiao could see that Li Chunfeng's cultivation was only half a step away from being a supreme. Although he might have passed the tribulation of 4 symbols, there was a terrifying corrosive force in his body that caused his cultivation to drop to the level of an emperor. Moreover, Li Chunfeng only had a few more years to live. For Li Chunfeng, if he couldn't take revenge before he died, he would not be able to rest in peace. However, Nan Tianjue was already a supreme 2,000 years ago. He was probably even more powerful now. The Nantian family was thriving. After obtaining the Dragon Quake scripture and the purple aura communication technique, they were about to replace the Li family as the new feng shui family on the War God continent. It was almost impossible for him to take revenge. Young friend, I didn't expect you to know about the Dragon Quake scripture. I won't hide it from you then. I am Li Chunfeng. 2,000 years ago, my cultivation was stuck at the tribulation of 4 symbols. However, due to the curse of the feng shui family, I couldn't break through to the level of a supreme. That was why I studied martial arts with Nan Tianjue, hoping to find the secret of becoming a god. However, I didn't expect. The skinny old man sighed softly. Although he looked calm on the surface, Ling Xiao could feel the pain and anger in his heart. His clan was exterminated, and his clan's treasure was snatched away. All of this was because he believed in his so-called best friend. He had probably spent every moment of the past 2,000 years in pain. Old sir, are you telling me all this because you want me to take revenge for you? I'm afraid you have overestimated me. Ling Xiao said slowly. My young friend, I Li Chunfeng, am an expert in the art of feng shui. You're the only person I can't see through. It's as if you're not supposed to exist in this world. Only the dead have this kind of fate. However, you're a living person, and you're only in your teens. I think you must have some unimaginable secrets. Li Chunfeng glanced at Ling Xiao indifferently. There was a glimmer in his cloudy eyes, but his words shocked Ling Xiao. The secret of his rebirth was Ling Xiao's biggest secret. Other than the old goat, no one else knew about it. However, Li Chunfeng could roughly guess that the heavenly path of feng shui was indeed terrifying. The old man in front of him had probably reached the transcendent realm in this aspect. Little friend, I have no interest in prying into your secrets. However, I believe that in your future path of martial arts, becoming a supreme being is definitely not the end. Your fate is indescribably noble. If you can obtain my Li family's Dragon Quake scripture, Purple Cloud's spiritual technique, and nature's feng shui technique, it's not impossible for you to become the first person in history to become a deity. Li Chunfeng looked at Ling Xiao with a hint of fanaticism in his eyes as though he had seen a priceless treasure. Then what do you need me to do? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he said slowly. You just need to promise me 3 things. Not only will I teach you my Li family's Dragon Quake scripture, Purple Cloud's spiritual technique, and nature's feng shui technique, but I'll also give you a peerless ancient stone. You'll definitely be able to defeat South Celestial Venerable. Li Chunfeng said. What are the conditions? First, kill South Tianjua for me if you can. Li Chunfeng looked at Ling Xiao and said seriously. Ling Xiao had already guessed this condition. Li Chunfeng probably hated South Tianjua to the core, but he didn't have the chance to take revenge. Sure. Ling Xiao agreed without hesitation. Even if Li Chunfeng didn't say anything, Ling Xiao wouldn't let South Tianjua off. He was an ungrateful and shameless person who betrayed his friends. Moreover, Ling Xiao had a feud with the Nantian family. Who knew when South Tianjua would appear? Second, help me take care of Luo Luo after I die. Li Chunfeng pointed at the little girl who was cooking with a gentle look in his eyes. Luo Luo. Who's she to you? Ling Xiao's eyes flickered. He could feel that the little girl didn't have any cultivation, but there was a strange energy in her body. It seemed to contain some mysterious bloodline power. She's my granddaughter. Li Chunfeng smiled and said, 2,000 years ago, South Tianjua destroyed my Li family. I didn't have the chance to save anyone. Luo Luo wasn't in the family at that time, so she survived. I used the power of the dragon vein to seal her for 2,000 years. I only released her when I knew that my lifespan was reaching its end. That's why she's only 8 or 9 years old. Seal the power of the dragon vein? What a trick! Ling Xiao was shocked. He didn't expect Li Chunfeng to have such a trick up his sleeve. It's just a small trick. Luo Luo doesn't have any cultivation, so it's not difficult to seal her for 2,000 years. However, a powerful martial artist, especially one who has formed the martial path primordial spirit, can't rely on a seal to extend their lifespan. Li Chunfeng smiled and said nonchalantly, Are you not going to let her enter the martial path? Ling Xiao looked at Luo Luo and asked softly. Li Chunfeng's eyes were filled with love and reluctance. Luo Luo is my granddaughter. The burden of the Li family's revival will fall on her shoulders. However, I don't have time to teach her. So the third condition is that I hope you can take her as your disciple. She has the most mysterious body constitution in the Li family. After you get the Dragon Quake scripture, use it to build her foundation. With the help of the Purple Qi spiritual skill and nature's feng shui, her cultivation will increase rapidly. You trust me that much? Aren't you afraid that I'll turn against you after I get the Dragon Quake scripture, Purple Qi spiritual skill and nature's feng shui? Ling Xiao said with a smile. I trust you. Moreover, I'm a feng shui master. I trust my judgment. Li Chunfeng's eyes were filled with confidence. What do you think? These 3 conditions aren't difficult for you to fulfill. Li Chunfeng looked at Ling Xiao expectantly. Ling Xiao thought for a while and nodded. All right, I promise you. Thank you. Li Chunfeng smiled. There was a hint of relief in his eyes. Come, I'll bring you to see that ancient stone first. This ancient stone is not inferior to the heavenly god stone at all. Chapter 511. The room was brightly lit and looked very ordinary. There was only a bed, a few tables and chairs. Other than that, there was nothing else. However, Ling Xiao felt a faint fluctuation of space in the room. Buzz. Li Chunfeng waved his sleeves, and ripples appeared in the space. A door of light appeared. Mustard dimensional space? Ling Xiao's eyes moved. A half-step supreme being expert could open up their own mustard dimensional space. Ling Xiao didn't expect Li Chunfeng to still have a mustard dimensional space after his cultivation fell. Let's go. If it wasn't for the mustard dimensional space, I would have been discovered by South Sky Ju. Li Chunfeng smiled faintly and led Ling Xiao into the mustard dimensional space. In the mustard dimensional space, the surroundings were chaotic. It looked like a real small world, but the laws were chaotic as if it would collapse at any time. Ling Xiao saw a strange ancient stone floating in the center of the mustard dimensional space. The ancient stone looked round and simple. It was like a star, emitting a silver glow. The surface of the stone was mottled and filled with Taoist rhymes. Streaks of silver lightning shot out from the stone, causing the surrounding chaotic void to become even more chaotic. A mysterious, ancient and terrifying aura was emitted from the ancient stone. It had a terrifying power that could split the heavens and earth. Ling Xiao stood in front of the ancient stone, and felt like an ant looking up at a divine dragon. He was so insignificant. The wordless heavenly book in his consciousness trembled violently, and emitted waves of excitement. If it wasn't for Ling Xiao's suppression, it would have rushed out. 2,000 years ago, I comprehended the myriad geomancy art and purple aura spiritual art in the primitive ancient mine. This ancient stone was obtained from the deepest part of the primitive ancient mine. Li Chunfeng sighed softly and said slowly, "What's in this ancient stone?" Ling Xiao asked. "I don't know." Li Chunfeng smiled and said, "But this ancient stone can definitely defeat South Sky Venerable." "Are you so sure? Since you created the purple aura spiritual art, even you can't see what's in this ancient stone?" Ling Xiao asked in surprise. "How can it be so easy? As the saying goes, even immortals can't see through the stone, so how could I know?" Li Chunfeng shook his head. Purple Qi psychic technique senses the Qi of all things in the world. It uses the strength of Qi to determine the strength of the treasure inside the ancient stone, but it can't see what's inside the ancient stone. Of course, Celestial Venerable Nen can't do it either. Otherwise, why would they sell the ancient stones to others when they have so many of them? Ling Xiao nodded. If he did not possess a heaven-defying treasure like the wordless heavenly book, he would not have been able to accurately determine whether or not there was a treasure within the ancient stone. After all, from Ling Xiao's point of view, there were over 1,000 ancient stones in the entire Heavenly King Palace, but only about 100 of them had treasures. These ancient stones were incomparably precious, and one would have to pay a hefty price to obtain them. The Nantian family was a merchant, so they naturally wouldn't take such a huge risk. Then why are you so sure that this ancient stone is better than the one South Celestial Venerable chose? Ling Xiao asked in astonishment. Because the place where I comprehended the 2 secret skills was said to be the place where the God Stone was unearthed. It was a chaotic abyss, and I found 2 ancient stones. I gave one of them to South Celestial Venerable. That ancient stone is definitely not as good as this one. Li Chunfeng's eyes flashed as he said slowly, "I'm sure that South Celestial Venerable will definitely take out that ancient stone to bet with you. If he doesn't take out that ancient stone, he will definitely lose." Ling Xiao nodded. No wonder Li Chunfeng was so sure. Ling Xiao was even more curious now. What treasure was inside the ancient stone that made the wordless heavenly book so excited? Could it be related to the bronze coffin? Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat. The last time the wordless heavenly book was so excited was when they encountered the bronze coffin, and the Bronze Divine Palace. The Bronze Divine Palace's location was mysterious, but it wasn't far from the primitive ancient mine. Could it be that there was a connection between the two? Ling Xiao pondered in his heart. The treasures in the ancient stone would naturally be revealed during the stone gambling tomorrow. However, I have to tell you one thing in advance. Although you can win by choosing this ancient stone, you will be in danger. South Celestial Venerable also knows that I have an ancient stone. Although I faked my death to escape for the past 2,000 years, he still thinks that I'm still alive. If he finds out about this ancient stone, he will definitely find you. Li Chunfeng looked into Ling Xiao's eyes with a burning gaze. Do I have a choice? Ling Xiao smiled faintly and said, I don't want to be South Celestial Venerable's slave for 10 years. So what if it's South Celestial Venerable? Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with pride. Even if South Celestial Venerable was South Celestial Venerable, Ling Xiao was the #1 Celestial Venerable in his previous life. His title was Devourer of Heaven, and he dominated an era. What was South Celestial Venerable to him? Moreover, Ling Xiao believed that in this life, he would only go further and become stronger. Good, you have guts. However, you don't have to worry too much. As a Celestial Venerable, South Celestial Venerable might not be in this world right now. As long as he doesn't sense the ancient stone's aura, you won't be in danger. This ancient stone is yours. Li Chunfeng caressed the ancient stone. His eyes were filled with reluctance, but he still said firmly in the end, Thank you. Ling Xiao nodded solemnly. With a flash of light in his hand, he kept the ancient stone into his longevity ring. All right, let's go out. Li Chunfeng looked as though he had put down a burden on his mind, and a relaxed smile appeared on his face. Outside the mustard subdimensional space, the 8 or 9-year-old girl in a tattered dress had already placed the rice on the table with much effort. There were also a few stir-fried vegetables. Although it was bland, it looked exquisite. It gave off a refreshing fragrance that whetted one's appetite. Grandpa, it's time to eat. When Luo Luo saw Li Chunfeng, a radiant smile appeared on her face. Her red dress was tattered, and there were a few holes in her shoes, revealing her jade-like toes. However, it couldn't hide her jade-like skin. There was a lot of dust on her face, but her big eyes were lively. If she were to dress up properly, she would definitely look like a porcelain doll. Her face was filled with a pure and happy smile. She looked at Ling Xiao curiously, and sensibly added a set of chopsticks for Ling Xiao. Big brother, are you Grandpa's friend? Come and try Luo Luo's cooking. Grandpa doesn't usually bring guests home. Luo Luo said with anticipation. Luo Luo is so obedient. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.